Boom. Back at it again. Wicka, wicka, wow. Episode 10 coming at you. This is the Average
Yes.
J podcast with Jay, Justin Ruiz,
And
and
Jay, Jeremy or Francois.
there we go. So, it's kind of crazy to think that this is our 10th episode. We've been doing this for a couple months, so that's fun.
Into the
Um,
new year.
yeah, and into the new year. This is our first one, right? That we're recording
I
in the
believe
new
so.
year,
I
right?
think so. May have to look back on that. If anything, it could be our second because I feel like we did it in the new year already. But we'll check. We'll have
It
our
doesn't
people check.
matter.
It
Every
doesn't
single
matter.
one that we do from now on, we're just going to say it's our first one of the new year, just so everyone feels good about it.
Yeah, just so it's like
Um,
equal.
yes. So, getting into some not so fun news, we've lost some people so far this year, unfortunately. Some very impactful people in
Heavy hitters.
yeah, just in the entertainment industry itself. It's been pretty rough, with the ending of last year, seeing the passing of Betty White, and now the first kind of passing to really rock everyone is Bob Saget. Bob Saget has left this realm, unfortunately, at
Yeah,
the age of, what was
I
he
believe
was like 60, right? 64, something
I was
like
gonna say
that.
56, but it could be 60 something. But he wasn't. I
I'm
think
pretty
65.
sure. Yeah, I think that's he
It
was in his
really.
60s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like I remember when the news hit, like he was doing a comedy tour, like he was getting back into things. It's not like he was doing it was just and it wasn't COVID, it was just a natural cause. And it's
Yeah, so
very
60
and
he died at 65 in Orlando hotel room.
yeah, he was just
But
on
what
his
were you
tour.
saying? Yeah, he was just on his tour. Yeah, it wasn't yeah, I don't think it was COVID related or
It
anything. It was
wasn't
just
COVID, it
natural
was just a
causes,
natural
right?
death, and which is surprising. Um
It's so messed up.
yeah, like dude was one of our fathers growing up when watching for me it was always Full House.
Yeah.
That was like he was always the I never seen Bob Saget in anything else besides America's Home Funniest Videos, but
Yeah.
he was the straight man in Full House, and he was like, you kind of want to be like him, but then you also wanted to be like Jesse, but you know who was
Yeah.
right? It was Bob Saget's character.
Yeah, he was one of those he was the TV dad, right? It was someone who,
Yeah,
you always learned the lesson from him. He was always super
at
nice,
the end of
always
at
did
the
the
end of
right
the
thing.
episode, yeah,
He
he's like,
was a
yeah, it was
TV
it was
dad,
tough.
and I mean, from Full House, Fuller House, America's Funniest Home Videos, and then also everyone knows he was the narrator. He's older Ted in How I Met Your Mother. So
Yeah,
he's been around. He's been doing things. I mean, he's been a prolific comedian for decades.
hmm
Um, his stand up is legendary, and it's in stark contrast of Danny Tanner, America's
yeah,
Funniest Home Videos. Like, he is not that family friendly guy when it comes to his comedy.
nah,
And yeah, everyone that was close to him, they're saying these things of like how happy he was at his end, which was, it's kind of good to hear that,
mhm,
because you know, he was so happy to get back into touring and be in the environment that he was most comfortable in, making people laugh and making people happy. That was his happy place.
yeah,
So unfortunately, we might feel like it was, too soon, and I mean, millions of people around the world do as well. But we can take some kind of solace in the fact that he's gone kind of like at his peak. He left this world making it smile, and everyone is behind him. The amount of people that are mourning him everywhere, it's a big blow. It's a devastating loss for sure in the world of entertainment, but in everyone's lives. Like you said, this was a famous TV dad that we all
mhm.
grew up with, and it's gonna be it's a hole, for a
Yeah,
lot of
and
people.
yeah, and you say that, I think of, like, it's a hole, but then one day and it sucks to say there will be a new Bob Saget to fill that hole, and one day
Yeah.
that person will come, and we'll be like, "Okay, like, he's taking the reins on this."
Yeah,
Um,
there'll be that new. I mean, I think right now one of the closest things that like entertainment
yeah,
industry TV has right now is the dad from This Is Us. He's kind of like taking on that new like father figure, kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
perfect individual. Um,
Sorry about that. My dad was calling me, but I texted him earlier. We'll continue, but yes, Joe
it's all good.
Manganiello. I can't say his name. From This Is
Joe
Us.
Magnum PI. Yes.
That's not his name, people. But yes, that guy. He was in Heroes. But yes, he does a very good
Yeah,
job
he was the guy
in
from
that show.
Heroes. Yeah.
He does a very good job in that show. I've watched a few. Actually, I don't know if I told you the story. Not to get off into a tangent. Um, everyone talks about This Is Us and how they always emotion every episode. I saw episode one, cried, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch the show because I'm gonna cry every episode. I know little bits of stuff that's going on in the series because Gabby watches it, and I see the commercials, so I can connect the dots. But yeah, after seeing episode one, I was like, nah, I'm good. This was
It's
an emotional ride.
Milo
Yeah, I don't want to say Joe.
Ventimiglia.
Yeah,
Milo
Joe is the
Ventimiglia.
other guy. Um,
So
yeah.
yeah, that guy. But yeah, he was in Heroes. Great actor. I've seen a couple episodes, and I know the overall like plot because it's one of Erica's shows. She's been watching it. She caught all the way up to the last season now that's airing. She
Mm,
loves it. It's an incredible roller coaster. It's I don't know. She's just the type of person where she loves super emotional shows. So she'll go from like This Is Us, which is like, literally meant to make people cry, to like, I mean, she loves drama, reality stuff. Now
mm.
her latest fixation is Euphoria. And let me tell you, Euphoria is a lot. But
I've heard.
you know, going back to it. Yeah, so somebody will replace, that TV father figure role, and for now it just seems like there's something missing. Like
Yeah,
Bob Saget, it felt like he had more to give, but like I said, everyone close to him, including like DJ
TV
Tanner,
channel.
her name's
Yeah,
Candace, whatever, his wife, as well as John Stamos, they all said that they spoke to him the day before and he was doing super great. He was so happy to be touring again. He just did a really good show and he was on top of the world. So, it's definitely very, very sad that this is something that has happened, but, it we should be happy that he gave us so much joy and we should look back on
yeah,
his life as an accomplishment for sure because it was great. He did a lot of good in this world by making people laugh.
yeah. We got a
So
lot of with him. Like you got Bob Saget. Like when I think of like the '80s, '90s dads, Bob Saget. You got wow, I'm forgetting his name. Well, I'll say
Carl
the character.
Winslow.
You got Carl Winslow. You got Phil. Like we got a lot
Oh,
of TV.
James
Yeah,
Avery.
yeah. James Avery,
Yeah,
not James
Uncle
Earl Jones.
Phil.
Yeah, like you got all these TV dads nowadays, like there's just too much to count. But the one that does stick out because you said it was this dude from This Is Us. It's like, but
Yeah,
that to me that's like a more a
yeah,
dramatized
for
TV
sure.
dad,
Yeah,
not a funny
way
one.
more.
But I think that's what we need, and we don't need to laugh things off all the time. But that's what Bob Saget gave to us, and I do.
Yeah, we exited that age of the sitcom, right? And now we're
Yeah,
into more like dramatized, real life, slice of life things.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, Milo, whatever, the guy from This Is Us, is as close as we get because, we won't have another, at least in our lifetime, I don't think we'll have another Bob Saget.
mhm,
We won't have another TV dad that's waiting just around the bend.
yeah,
So, it's sad, but we'll all remember him fondly. And unfortunately, with that, this past week we also saw the departure of very well known singer and actor Meatloaf, as well as actor and comedian Louis Anderson. So, two more people that really, in their respective
mhm,
industries, that they left a really big mark. I mean, Meatloaf in what, mid to late 80s, maybe
mhm.
some early 90s. He had really big hits. I my touch point with Meatloaf is Fight Club, where he plays Bob.
Yeah,
He's the big heavy set guy with boobs.
yeah,
So fantastic role. I mean, he was a great actor for that. I think he nailed that
yeah.
character. And then
Same
Louis
here.
Anderson. He's somebody that's been kind of like all over the place. He's been in every
Yeah,
sitcom I could imagine. He's been in a lot, and he's
I
just a
think my connection
genuinely
with him was the
funny
cartoon.
guy.
I forget the name of the cartoon. It was like a cartoon version of him as a kid. I don't remember the name of the show, and I don't think I was of age to watch that show. I just saw it was a
Of Louis
cartoon.
Anderson?
Yeah, like, I'm not bugging. Like, there's a show. I'm gonna try and find it.
It's
Um,
possible because I feel like every comedian has had a show about themselves at some point. Oh, Life with Louis?
yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
was
that's what
called.
it was called, Life with Louis.
Was it a serious show, or was it, like, for kids?
I don't know, it's animated. It got an
But, like
8.2 on IMDb, so it was
but it's kinda like it's not
kinda
like The
good.
Simpsons is not animated, but it's like because it reminds me of, like,
True.
Bobby's World, like, around that time.
Yeah. Um,
That's, like, my only knowledge of, like, Louis Anderson.
so it was on Fox Kids, so I'm assuming it was
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
kinda
okay.
towards a younger crowd.
I remember watching it during a daytime, it wasn't a nighttime thing. So, yeah, that is my only I remember that show being
But
pretty
yeah,
good. I enjoyed it.
he was in everything. I mean, you remember that Zach Galifianakis show, Baskets? He was in that, Coming
Oh,
to
yes, yes,
America,
he
Ferris
was.
Bueller's Day Off.
Mhm.
Um, oh, he was in Coming to America too. Um, he had his own comedy show in the 90s. A bunch of different random occurrences. Uh, yeah, man, it's crazy because I didn't even know because I've seen him in shows and stuff like that, but I didn't even know how I guess relevant, for lack of a better word, that he was until probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I have only
Mhm.
seen him in sitcoms and just been like, oh, he's just one of those guys that's always, you know, in
Yeah,
things. And then I found out who he was, and I looked back and like I watched some of his stuff back in the day, and I was like, oh wow, no, this is like he was like a comedy like dynamo. He like paved the
yeah.
way for a lot of stuff. So another just industry powerhouse that's gone, which really sucks, man. This year has started off with kind of like a
Yeah,
lackluster performance just because
yeah.
we've lost some people.
I try to see it, like, differently too, like, as of the last couple years, because like,
Mhm.
you know, every year we're always gonna be losing some, like, great people, and it sucks to
Mhm.
say it out loud, but one thing I learned when, my godmother had passed, it's like one thing I just came to a conclusion, and I'm sure most people can agree, you know, their passing makes room for the people they left behind. Um,
Mhm.
like I said, I mentioned Bob Saget. Like I feel like there is going to be another Bob Saget. Maybe not in our lifetime, but because of these people, there are more comedians that look up to them. Like just as like
Yeah.
I with like Stan Lee or even Betty White. Like I just see the great things that they believe in, and then that's instilled in me. So it's like, yeah, like
Well, yeah, they
just
were they were like to your
yeah,
point, they were trailblazers. So because of
it's that's the
them,
word I was looking
it'll
for. Yeah,
open up the doors for so many others that are like them.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. Not
So
to say it's not
yeah,
it is sad, but, that's the way I try to see things nowadays.
no, I mean that's a great way to see it. I mean that's a very mature way to look at it.
But
But I think that's a great way. Just yes, their departure from this world is sad, but we should be happy in the fact of like what they've accomplished and what they're gonna allow others to do, right? Because these are people that, you know, despite who they were or what they did, they inspired others and they inspired others in a good way. So
Yeah,
that's the best thing that you could do with your life. So that's fantastic.
well said, well said.
So moving on to something a little more lighter, our next topic today is
A
gonna
lighter,
be
darker.
a lighter,
People will
darker,
get that
darker.
when we talk about it.
um, Also in the vein of inspiration because it's inspired from something in the 90s. So this new show called Bel Air. It is a Fresh Prince of Bel Air reboot, and it's coming out on Peacock. It actually premieres on February 13th. So I didn't even think it was that quick. but it is a retelling, obviously a more serious, drama-packed retelling of the Will Smith classic, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So, the trailer just dropped, what, the week before
Last week.
last?
Last week, I think,
Uh,
yeah.
oh, last week, sorry. The
Yeah.
trailer dropped last week, and I just saw this trailer, and it looks freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It
I
looks
honestly thought I was not gonna like it. I was gonna be like, "Okay, here's another reboot." But I was like, "Oh."
so to those that might not know, this was a concept project thing that a writer filmed and edited, put together. I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and it kind of took the world by storm. It was a dramatic retelling of the Fresh Prince, and it took it went viral. Will Smith got a hold of it, and now that person is, with the help of Will Smith, bringing it to actuality. The production looks great. The actors look awesome. Everyone has a much more updated version of the classic Fresh Prince characters,
Yeah.
but it looks like it works really well. I mean, all I can say is go check it out on YouTube. It looks super cool. Um, there are things where you're gonna lose some stuff in this new dramatic retelling,
Yeah.
right? Like,
It won't translate well if you try
yeah,
to
it
pull.
won't be. It's clearly not as goofy. I'm sure like it'll have its moments, but it's not a goofy thing. Like they kind of play up the incident that makes him go out to Bel Air, right? So originally we got that little backstory from the intro theme, and it was he was just trying to play basketball. The ball hits a guy, and the guy like kind of goes crazy and starts fighting him. Now it looks like there was like an actual brawl on the basketball court. There was violence. There's a gun involved. There was jail time. So it looks like it's a lot more. It's a lot heavier and a much more real situation, especially for something happening in West Philly.
Yeah.
So, and then Will goes out. His aunt and uncle look like they're forget. Forget what you saw in the last one. Here they're like super mega rich. They're like billionaires. Their mansion is
I feel
massive.
like because of the production quality, it makes it look like, because like, I remember when, just not to cut you off, but when Uncle Phil would have these little parties for his friends, it
Hmm.
was in the backyard. You knew that, but in the grand scheme of things, you knew they had a big house, but I think because of
Yeah,
production value, you were like, "No, this is a big house." Like, if you guys see the trailer, you see his Uncle Phil's friends, lawyer friends there. It's it's really
it's a
cool.
mansion. Like they're
It's
at
a
a
mansion.
mansion. Like it's a
And then I
mansion.
think with you gotta
Mansion.
throw in inflation too, he's got money, so
I
we
mean,
gotta.
I guess.
I guess. Just throw in
But I think
inflation
the production thing
is the
is
key.
more sound. Yes.
Yeah.
Like they're actually able to show it now. And I mean it looks super cool. You still got all the cousins there and on top of Uncle Phil, Aunt Viv, you have Jeffrey, who's still a British black man, which I love. Uncle
Speaking
Phil's
of,
not fat, which is
yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah, I think they wanna lay off those jokes too, because it's like, the jokes were funny
Yeah,
back then,
because it's
but
yeah, but it was also like back then it was meant to be funny. Like this is not clearly meant to be funny.
yeah, exactly. But, speaking of the cousins, one thing I wanted to touch on as well, it's something that we can always overlook because it was a sitcom, but, like, the skin color of the cousins, like, they all
Mhm.
match. They're all one color, like, uh this girl, because obviously we had the original Aunt Viv, and then they changed the actress.
The actress.
I forget
Yeah.
I forget the name. And then, but not only that, like, Uncle Phil was a light skinned black man. Aunt Viv was light skinned black woman, and then the like two of their kids are darker. Which, and then I remember Hillary was the lightest one. It was weird
Yeah.
to me. Now they just, it seems more streamlined, so it's kind of like, and this is, to me, it's a quality thing, but also realistic. So I thought that,
Yeah.
like, that was a smart, I guess, a smart touch for this reboot.
I also think that it's one of those things where some, I guess, media projects, whether it be TV or movies, sometimes they get flack for having like lighter skin actors only, or lighter
100%.
skin actors in the lead roles, and they're kind of like, oh, like, why did this have to be a light skinned person? Like it could have been a black person. And
Yeah,
here does not, like, that problem is not going to exist. They
yeah,
are, you can tell right off the bat they're all black people. It's all black. Like they're
they are
not
dark skinned,
super
and then
light skin. Nobody's, and it doesn't seem like I guess in the original one, especially like in the first season when Will
Mhm.
first shows up, they all seem very like hoity-toity and trying to be super rich. Here, they seem like a little more down to earth. Although they are super wealthy, they don't seem like they're trying to be fake at all. It's just like this is their lifestyle.
Yes,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like
They really touch on
it's a little more believable. It's a little more grounded.
Mhm.
So so yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
I
great. I mean,
it looks good. I'm
I'm gonna
actually
watch it for sure.
because there are a lot of shows that they like, for example, you mentioned earlier, Fuller House. I was like, "Eh," Full
I
House was
watched
cool.
the first season maybe, and then I was
I
just
think
like,
you
all right.
told me that, yeah. There are a lot of random reboots and, and we've talked about reboots before in our show. I'm not a big fan of reboots like that, especially just for a nostalgia grab, but this one actually is really good. But go ahead, because you have before you forget.
Yes, so this one looks great. I'm super on board for this. Talking about nostalgia grab, me and Erica started watching How I Met Your Father.
Oh, yeah, I haven't started that. How I Met Your
Avoid,
Mother's my show. Okay,
avoid.
thank you.
It's
I
not worth it.
honestly I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to watch it because of Hillary and, this girl because I like them,
Listen,
but
give it the shake. We there's 2
oh,
episodes out right now.
it's gonna be a weekly
Yeah,
thing, they're
it's a
not just
weekly thing.
dropping it.
Yeah, they didn't drop the whole thing. Give it its fair shake. I think it was 2 episodes. I don't think it was 3. Um, but it was just so like so what bothered me is they used the same theme song.
Ah,
It's super short, but it's the same theme song. Maybe it's like sung by a different person, but it's the same exact thing. Uh it's not even like Fuller House where it was like a remix and like there was like added chords and stuff. Like this one
yeah,
is like it's the ba 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 like that
yeah,
thing like and it just keeps like and then it cuts off after like 10 seconds. It's a super short version. So it just there's no what was bothering me about it is like there's no reason for anything. There's none like no reason whatsoever.
yeah.
The first like there's I'm not gonna give any spoilers for anyone, but the first episode, right? How she meets her friends, she gets in an Uber and has a conversation with the Uber driver and the Uber driver's best friend who's in the passenger seat and hitching a ride to go somewhere. And that's it. From
That's how
then
they
on,
become best friends.
they establish a relationship right then and there, and then later on, there's a MacGuffin, right? So Hilary Duff's character leaves her phone in there, ends up switching it with the Uber driver's best
Mm,
friend. So like then she has to go switch it back. So it makes them see each other again. But it's to me, it is so unbelievable. It doesn't even make sense.
yeah.
Like, it just so happens that that best friend who she switched phones with owns a bar that's not too far from them,
They really wanted to
and
do the bar scene again. They're
yeah,
forcing it.
so he owns that bar, and he was going there later on to propose to his fiance, and then Hillary Duff is trying to meet people on Tinder, and it's not working out. She meets this guy who's perfect, but then he has to move to Australia. There's like,
There's so much
it's
going
just
on
there's
for
so
one
much
episode.
and so little at the same time. Like the first episode is really trying to like drill you into like knowing everyone off the bat,
Do they
and
have
it's just I
flashbacks like, the original show?
no no because
Mm,
they don't
that's
know
gonna
each
be
other.
yeah,
They
that's gonna
just
make
met
it
each
funny.
other.
Yeah,
They all
that's gonna
just
make it
met,
funny.
and then in the at the end, I guess, of the first episode, I think, they all go back to the Uber driver and his best friends. They live together, they're roommates. So they all
Mm.
go back to his apartment, and his apartment is the old apartment.
What?
Yeah, so they buy they're the ones who buy it off of Marshall and Lily.
Wow, that's a nice way to tie it.
And
A little part of me thinks it's cool,
the only
but I'm
reason
like,
you know that, is because they kept the swords on the
"Wow,
wall.
wow."
So they walk into the apartment and they're like, "Oh, that's a weird thing to have, swords." And they're like, "Oh, we got it from this nice old couple, as a steal or whatever. They moved to Westchester or some shit like that." And I was just like, "Ah." dude.
Low key, I
Like,
think it's cool, but at the same time, it's like they're trying too hard. And
that's the thing, like, it it just doesn't have the I didn't like, it was a nice nod, but they're just trying so hard for every little thing, it was hard to appreciate that nod,
yeah, I see what you're
you
saying.
know?
Yeah,
It's,
the series went or this idea went through so much too, because initially and also the production, because this is a Hulu original. This is not like
mhm,
what was it, a CBS original.
yeah.
Or yeah, well, yeah, because it's a different there was
Yeah,
a
I think it
different
was
company.
CBS, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just like originally it was supposed to be How I Met Your Dad, and it was supposed to be about Barney, which I thought would have been cool because that
That
was
would've
like the
made so much more sense.
'cause it was like, okay, we're still doing this How I Met Your Dad thing, and it was called How I Met Your Dad, not How I Met Your Father. So when I heard that they were doing this again, I was like, okay. I didn't think anything of it because I really like How I Met Your Mother. It established itself, hit the ground running after a year or so. I was like, all right, this is a thing. But after what you told me, a lot is happening in just 2 episodes. It's like, it's a little cringy. And
Everything I said happens in the 1st episode.
I saw like a review from IGN saying it's like it makes you miss and appreciate the original more. And it's like, wow.
And that's what I said with Eric. I was like, I know for a fact I'm gonna watch this, and the only thing I'm gonna get out of it is I'm gonna want to watch the original. And it's true. As soon as we finished watching it, I was like, all right, I have to go through and rewatch the original.
I'm actually rewatching it. I started rewatching it a few weeks ago. I watched that show like once a year.
Like, it's a good show. It's great, and it's just like for the reboot,
And it's
or
a
the
quick reboot.
continuation, I guess
Yeah.
it's a
Or
continuation, not a
anthology
reboot.
continuation. It's an anthology because
Because
it's two different
all it
series.
is they're using the name, right? Like that's it.
Yeah.
And it's to cash in on nostalgia. So, like, in the beginning, you remember how the beginning of How I Met Your Mother, kids sitting down and the dad's like just telling them a
They
story.
did that, right?
The beginning, you see the mom come out and she's like having a glass of wine and she sits on the couch and she's like, I'm gonna call my son. Calls the son and he's like, and I think the son is you only hear the voice, but it sounds
Yeah.
super like the kid. I think his name is Henry something.
Mhm.
The son that was from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
You
wow.
remember the kid that was sitting on the couch?
You think it
It's
was him?
like his voice. Yeah, because he's an actor and I've seen him and all this stuff. It sounded like his voice. I don't know that for sure, but um, so the mom just calls him up. You know, it's 2050. She uses the TV. There's like a joke about how, voice technology still doesn't work. And,
Yeah.
she uses the TV to call him and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? It's the middle of the night. Why are you calling me?" She's like, "Oh, I just wanted to tell you the story of how I met your father." And he was like, okay." So then she goes into the story. Like
Yeah,
it
and
was so forced
yeah,
from the beginning.
it is. It seems so forced, and the only thing I appreciate, but then I also don't appreciate, they did a flip on it because it takes place in what 2050, like that present time of, so like
Yeah.
because so the way How I Met Your Mother ends, from what I remember, and I know we're like kind of off tangent here because we're talking about reboots, because the way it ends when it flips the camera and it shows Josh Randor, it's him with gray hairs and whatever. So it's not Bob Saget sitting
Yeah.
on the chair. This is a different actress. It's not Hilary Duff. So I kind of like the idea that they switch, but then it's like now we don't see the kids. Like they're just inverting it and it's just a little
Yeah.
weird. And that is a little weird too, because like, what is the end goal? Because like, I remember by season 7, I realized, for spoilers, if you have not seen How I Met Your Mother, by season 7, I made the realization, I'm like, yo, the mom is dead. And then later on, they say like, oh, like she died, like she was. I
She
was like,
died.
why would Josh or what's his name? Wow, Josh Rander bring up like Ted? Why would he bring up How I Met Your Mother? But it's just to tell the
Yeah.
story of how they met him. And I was like, okay, so what, are they gonna do another like the dad
And
is dead?
you
Like,
realize like the whole thing is he wants to date again and he wants the kid's approval.
yeah, yeah. So it's just like
But here there's no point to it because at the end of the first episode, right? At the end of the pilot, she's like, "Yeah, I met him that night." And you kind of think it's one guy, but I have a pretty hard feeling it's
also they're
not him
hiding it.
because so yeah, like they don't say exactly who it is, so it's the same deal, right? And it makes me feel like it's not gonna be him because it's so much like, "Oh, it's this guy, he thinks she's cute," you know? So it makes me feel like it's not gonna be him. So at the very
Yeah,
end of the episode, she says, "Oh, that's the night I met your dad," and they don't say who it is or anything like that. And he was like, "Oh, well, you didn't tell me how you guys got together." And she's like, "Oh, well, that's another story." And then that's how it ends, and it's like that's
Mm,
just teeing it up to
I don't
continue.
like that. 'Cause the
And
in How I Met Your Mother was funnier. It's like, "Oh, Robin's your mom." It's like, "No," it's like, "Let's keep going." Like, that was funny.
so yeah,
Um,
at the end of the first episode, it kind of does little splash frames of each male character that you met.
mhm,
Um, but like, it's ambiguous. You don't know who it is. You have an idea because, it's kind of like pushed that the Uber driver, from the beginning, his best friend's like, "Oh, you like her." And it's pushed into your thing of like, "Oh, it's him," but I have a
yeah,
feeling it's not going to be. But
mm.
yeah, it's not great. I suggest you finish How I Met Your Mother and you enjoy that, and then if you want to give this a shot, you give it a shot.
I don't wanna do that because why would I dirty my palate when I can just do the reverse? So watch the first episode, I'm like, "Ah, I'm done," and then
I guess, yeah, if
continue.
you want to do it that way and eat your vegetables first before you get to the meat and potatoes, go for
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
then I'll just
that might be
live
better.
in the time capsule of How I Met Your Mother. Why do I need to ruin it?
And it's
But
like
anyway,
they did. Yeah, there's a lot of things I could complain about it, but
no, yeah, but it just in the vein of, like, reboots, like, there's some good, some bad. And
yes,
this is not even a
very
reboot.
much so.
It's another anthology super soon, but whatever. Like
Continuation,
Bel Bel Air
it's
is a
that
nice
reboot
like
continue. Yeah, Bel Air's it's a retelling of the
yeah,
story. Whereas like How I Met Your Father, the stark opposite, it's a continuation reboot. Same deal as like Fuller House, right? They
yeah,
want to continue it. Maybe they'll bring back some of the old cast members or whatever, but it's a continuation of the story.
yeah.
Even though, How I Met Your Father has nothing to do with the original people, but
We
whatever.
should do an episode about reboots entirely because I was gonna bring up like Girl Meets World and like just all those crazy stuff. But anyway,
I never even saw an episode of that
I
thing,
saw
but
like a clip on YouTube and I was like, why? And I love that they
yeah,
bring all the characters back, but let's not get into that.
we should do a reboot episode. But so moving on to an actual new original show, we're gonna talk about the new DC property Peacemaker on HBO
Sweet.
Max, starring WWE superstar John Cena.
You actually can't see him in the show.
You can't.
No, I'm just playing.
He's
You can.
completely invisible.
It was funny. I saw a fan art where it was just like the entire poster, but he's not in the suit.
I
It's
saw that.
really funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
So have you watched it? Is it good?
Yeah. So I just saw episode 4 today because I watched episode 1
Oh,
this
nice.
week, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get through all of it, but then I actually did. It's good. I love that. So did you see Suicide Squad, the second one? So
No.
it makes sense like to continue his story. Um,
So this is a sequel to the
to
to the
Peacemaker's
show
story. Yeah. Yes.
to the movie. I mean, right?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
not to get into super spoilers, because I think you might enjoy it. It's nothing crazy, but it's like because it's James Gunn, I'm like, he did direct and write these episodes of Peacemaker as well. So I
Oh, I
just
didn't
like,
know that.
yeah, I just if you do decide to watch it, I'd say watch Suicide Squad because it's a nice through line
Yeah.
for him. But not to get into spoiler territory. So Peacemaker is a person who he will do anything for peace. He will
Mhm.
kill uh children, women, whatever, innocents, just to make peace happen, which makes sense. But obviously, there's something psychotic about that.
Yeah.
Long story, Suicide Squad happens. At the end, there's a point where Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, is like, "Yo, destroy that hard drive or whatever." And the guy from the first Suicide Squad, the commander, I forget his name, Rick
Oh,
Flag.
Captain whatever that
Rick
guy.
Flag. No, not Captain Boomerang. Rick Flag is the one that
No, no,
leads
no.
the
Yeah, yeah, him.
yeah.
Wasn't he a
So
captain in the army? Or am I wrong?
yes, 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 yes. Um, yeah, so like I said, spoilers, he dies at the end of the second Suicide Squad movie, fighting um Peacemaker because their ideals
You're killing
are
me. All the spoilers. You say no spoilers, and then there's spoilers.
but then I said spoilers for this part. So because of their ideas, so like there's this hard drive that's gonna reveal something, and then Peacemaker's like, no, for peace, I need no one can see that. But he's like, Rick Flag's like, no, people need to see this. This is effed up. So they fight, whatever, and something happens. But then when he dies, Rick Flag like tells him like Peacemaker, what a joke. So that stays with him in the show. Like they show the
Mm,
same scene over and over again, and I'm like, so it's pretty cool to see like that continued, especially because it's written by James Gunn. If this was just gonna be
mhm,
oh like oh let's take that
mm,
story, I probably wouldn't be too heavily invested.
okay.
But because it's James Gunn, that's why I'm invested. And if anyone doesn't know who I'm talking about, James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 and Suicide Squad. So he's still writing these. And he will do 3. We haven't seen 3 yet. That's why I mentioned it. But yes, he is doing 3, which is great. That's another story that we can talk about at another time. But Peacemaker is pretty cool. Like it's very so we get to find out that he's accidentally racist because of his dad. His dad is an actual racist. So we get to
Okay.
know more about Peacemaker and why he's the way he is. Very
Wait, so
obviously
how is he like a peacemaker if he's accidentally racist?
because of his dad. Because so like we find out his dad was is called by episode 3. We find out his dad is called the White Devil. He was a bad guy or a hero
Okay.
back in the day, and he used to fight crime, but he also killed people of color. So because he
Okay.
didn't, yeah, because he just doesn't like black people. He think of them as second class citizens. So like
So is
just
Peacemaker in the same vein? Does he think that
no,
too?
he doesn't. He's not in the same vein.
Okay.
But he says like random things. So like there's an example like he sounds like a bigot, but he like it comes from a good place. So like they're in a
Mhm.
restaurant and he comes in full suit and with the helmet and everything. He's just sitting at the restaurant
Okay.
with this new team that he's supposed to be with. And then he's like, he says, "Hey, sweet cheeks, can I get a menu?" And they all look at him like, "Why are you saying?" She has nice like, well, geez, it's a compliment. And but the waitress doesn't get upset or anything. She just walks up to him
Yeah.
nice and but like I thought that was funny, but at the same time, I was like, he needs to change the way he says things.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't want to get too into it. It's just really good. Like it's a nice feel
Okay.
good. It's a feel good thing. And what I'm sitting here as the audience, I'm rooting for him to be better. That's what's coming from
Okay.
me right now. Like you're gonna sit there. I'm like, I want him to be better than he is. Um, I just want to throw a small thing. This kind of could be our segue too to our honorable mention. So there's a neighbor to Peacemaker's dad. He's a very old man. He's like, "You're a
Mhm.
superhero." He mentions Batman's rogue gallery. He goes,
Okay.
"Batman has this, this, and this." He's like, "You're peaceful. Who do you got?" He's like, "I have no one." He's because I killed all of them. He's like, "Why would Batman keep putting this clown into the prison for him to escape to kill more people?" So technically, Batman is helping Joker kill all these people. All the people that I had, all my enemies are dead. And I was like, "Oh yeah, he has a point. He
He's
has
not
a
wrong. Yeah.
he's not wrong." Like I understand moral codes and everything, but if so, you can do that. But that was a funny scene too. I enjoyed that. But sitting here watching 4 episodes, I'm just rooting for him. Um,
That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll definitely
But
give
my
that one
only thing
a
is, I
watch.
just hope like James Gunn is good, but I don't want to see another season unless this is supposed to be a one season thing.
Mm,
I just
I
I
get
just
you.
hope there's no other season because it's like okay, let's end it and that's it. Don't ruin it
Mm,
because so far it's good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it probably should just be, I mean, I haven't seen it or anything, but just from the subject matter, it probably should just be one season, but I guess we'll
Mhm.
see how it shakes out.
Yeah. Because like when because like DC is doing their like multiverse stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what's the show? I don't think it's gonna be called Gotham because obviously there's a show called Gotham on, or unless it's done on Fox.
I think it finished.
Yeah. So like when that show first was announced, I was pretty hyped because I wanted to see a story that was about
Yeah.
the police officers, but obviously it still became about Batman. Everything's just surrounded by Batman. Like why can't we see other characters? So there's gonna be a show that's based in Gotham, but it's in the world of Matt Reeves, the Batman, which we'll see Jeffrey Wright playing um, Commissioner Gordon, or I think at this point he'd be Detective Gordon. I think.
Really?
Yeah, so it's gonna be on HBO as an original, which I think like
Yeah.
that's dope. Stick with a nice one season thing
Yeah.
and put it on HBO Max.
So it'll be the rise of Detective Gordon.
Maybe detective to go on commission. I forget if he's
Yeah.
a detective in the Batman. Well, I can only think so because the Batman is,
No, I think
the
he's
2nd
commissioner
year.
already.
It's his 2nd year as
Oh, well, I
Batman.
guess,
So
yeah.
it's a young Batman. I would assume, he's detective first before becoming,
Mhm.
commissioner.
Commissioner.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah,
Okay.
I hope it's 1 season and we just get more stuff like that, that just branch off big movies.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
that'd be
that's great. I mean, I feel like HBO has that kinda sealed up, right? Like, I mean, the only
facts.
other thing I could think of that might do that is, like, Disney, or
Yeah,
Marvel,
that
right?
and
Like,
Disney,
they
yeah,
have Disney does it, where they'll do a show based off of, and they've been doing that for years,
yeah, they've
right?
been
They'll
doing
do
this since it dropped.
they'll do cartoons based off of whatever movie that did really well. More like in recent times, Disney usually does like shorts, or
Yeah,
maybe like a one-time deal, where it's just kind of like an extra, like 5-6 minutes of the continued story, or it's
yeah,
just these anthology little bits that you get afterwards. But yeah, I
right,
think HBO has that format to take those big properties and continue it out and kind of show us these extra
this
story
side,
branches, which is
yeah.
pretty cool.
'Cause
Yeah.
like you said, Marvel, technically Disney has been doing it because it's like you have the, Falcon and Winter Soldier, you
And
got
now, yeah,
Wanda
you got
Vision,
the
like,
shows. Yep.
these are major characters, but I think with what it seems to be going is that HBO, or rather Warner Brothers, is doing like actual side characters, not major players in their, like, Wanda and Vision
Yeah.
were major players in the franchise, where it's not gonna be Batman in his own show, it's, Gotham PD, and then you got like
Mhm.
Peacemaker. So whatever new show that, if once the Flash drops and they do like their own little reset, are we gonna get like a Batgirl or Bat, or even Nightwing? Because like there's one character or one actor that I would like to play Nightwing, but that's a different story. But maybe we get these side characters have their own show. Um,
I mean, that's
yeah,
it's a better bet, right? Less risk. You're not having to juggle these major names. Like with Peacemaker, yeah, you got John Cena, but it's not the same as Henry Cavill. You're not
yeah,
gonna make a Superman series and hope it does as well.
especially when there is
It's
one already
yeah.
with,
Like
Tyler
so
Joseph. Tyler Joseph, I forget his name.
well
It's called
that's Superman and Lois, right?
yes,
Yeah.
which actually the first
So,
episode was really good, but that's just me.
really? Oh,
Yeah, the
okay.
quality is way, it's not, I watched it and I was like, "This is not CW." They actually put a lot of
Mhm.
money into it. Didn't continue it
Well,
because
that's
I didn't want
good.
to ruin it, but it was really
Yeah.
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I mean, I think that's the way to go. You get these side characters and you flesh them out in the same
Yep.
ways that like a comic book would, but in ways that we haven't seen on the screen, right?
Exactly, exactly. Which
So that's awesome
kinda,
to hear.
yeah, now that just kinda makes me think of, like, how with comic books, because basically now comic books are just advertising, and now we're just getting this on the
Mhm.
big screen, which it's
Yeah.
a sad thing to say, but hey, at least we're getting it on the big screen because not a lot of people knew who Peacemaker was until they saw
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, and then we're just getting a little more of his backstory.
Well, I mean, I think DC does better in terms of comics before we move on. I think
Mhm.
DC does better with like doing their own stories
Yeah,
like versus Marvel, because Marvel continuity now it seems like it's just mirroring MCU. I mean, I haven't followed Marvel comics in a really
like
long
the comic
time,
books.
but
Yeah, oh, 100%,
yeah.
100%. But I'll give you an answer there. Like DC is starting to follow that format when it comes to the books. They're starting to follow
Okay.
that format. Yeah, like when Suicide Squad got popular because of 1 and 2, there were books on that, and then there was more push for Harley Quinn because Harley Quinn got popular because of Margot Robbie. And then what's getting
Yeah.
more popular, which they're doing, it's from comic book to game. There was the Suicide Squad versus Justice League, and then there's that new
Mhm.
game called out right now is Justice League, Suicide
Kill the
Squad.
Justice League.
Yeah, so it's not adapted into movies, but it can be done if they decide to. But then you have to bring these actors back. But then we'll have to see what happens when they reboot the entire
Yeah.
thing, which is gonna be a rehaul. But we'll see what happens.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, moving into our quick honorable mention before we kind of
Oh
get off
yes.
this subject entirely, but DC animation has a cute little birthday this year. Batman the animated series turns 30.
It's
which
crazy
is like
because I was born in
bananas.
'92. I'm 29, so I'm like, I think next year, or when my birthday comes, I'm gonna watch. I'm just gonna sit down and watch it.
It's crazy because it's like it's one of those things where you forget, like, I watched it as a kid,
Yeah,
right? The animated series. You forget that, like, that came out before you were born. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Like,
so
well,
wild.
not before you were born, but, like, when you were a bit, like, watching when you were, like, watching it on TV. Because when I saw it on TV, I thought it was just there, but then I realized,
Yeah.
like, "Wait, how was it made in '92 when I was watching it?" Like, that my
Yeah,
concept
yeah.
of time and stuff was weird, and I was a dumb kid. So I was like, "That's weird." But it's like, wow. It's still held at high esteem as an
It's
animated show,
so good.
especially uh, a superhero cartoon.
Like,
Like
I went back a couple years ago and I started watching it from episode 1. I
mhm.
don't think I finished it out, but I made it pretty decently far. And man, that show really holds up. The animation style is so unique. It's
Like, you
so
can see it's
cool.
old, but it still holds up.
Yeah, like you can see maybe the actual version is not HD, but
Mm.
the animation and the art is so freaking good. It was such a like
It was
different
original.
thing for that time. Like it was
Mhm.
so good. And Kevin Conroy, obviously, he's Big Daddy Batman always.
He is Batman and Mark Hamill's Joker, but that's just my opinion, which is right. But anyway.
But they capture those characters like so well.
Oh, yeah.
I- Insane.
It's
But
very well
yeah,
done.
let's
But, yeah,
let's
it started yeah, good kudos for making it 30 because it spawned so many, like, the Superman animated series, which is great in itself, the
yep.
Justice League animated series, which was great. Batman
Mhm.
Beyond. I think that's one of Static Shock, Zeta Project. Those were like one of the last few shows, and they just stopped from there. But and DC animated is has done very well. Like, I'll say that. Like, the movies with the suits messed up a lot of stuff, but DC animated has done well when it comes to its
Yeah, I
entirety.
feel like they've always done really well in their animated features. The only one in recent memory that I can think of that I didn't really like was Batman Hush. That was the only one that I remember just
I
not liking
actually
the
enjoyed
story.
that. I didn't like Batman Ninja, which I thought was gonna be like, I had a different
Really?
expectation, but
Okay.
I understood what it was doing. I
Mhm.
just didn't expect Gundams. I'm sorry for people that might wanna watch this. I didn't expect Gundam fighting in a Edo period. I was like, "Wait,
Yeah, that
what?"
doesn't make sense.
That
Yeah.
threw me off. I thought it was gonna be a more grounded, like, Batman
Mhm.
hand-to-hand I like
Samurai.
yeah, like, yeah, I like my small grounded stuff, but I was not expecting that. Hush, I enjoyed because it was a reverse of my expectation because I already knew who Hush is. I'm sure anyone who
Yeah.
went to go see the movie Hush was like, "Oh, it's this person," but it was just a reversal. I understand why some people didn't like it, but
I
I
just didn't like that it was
enjoyed the
Riddler.
reversal of it. Yeah, I enjoyed the reversal of it. I was like, "Oh, I didn't expect it," but I was like, "Ah, okay." But
I just feel like it should have been someone else. Like I just don't like because Riddler is such a powerhouse in himself that I was kind
oh,
of
yeah, to
annoyed when
do
they
that, yeah. I
yeah,
see
then
what
it
you
was like, "Oh, so he's him too?" Like that's weird. I didn't enjoy that, but it is what it
yeah.
is.
Well, and that's the one thing I
Um
like because they tell you when these animated movies that it's its own story, it doesn't connect. Because there is a
yeah.
universe, an animated universe based off the New 52 line, which ended,
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
a year or 2 ago. But yeah, like that Hush storyline was its own thing, so it didn't connect. So I was like, "Okay,
And I
that's
think
why I
that's
let
a
it go."
good thing, right? It's always good when you have these isolated stories. We've gotten this, Marvel has been doing it so well, and to see DC trying to follow suit with their DCEU, like I think at this point, moviegoers and nerds alike, we
Mhm.
have this fatigue almost, and like newcomers coming in, it's like there's a barrier of entry to the MCU. Like you need to watch 20 something movies in order to catch up. So it's a lot.
Yeah, like
So
we
having
grew
those
up with that.
and like even the shows now, like everything that we're getting is all tied in, and for you to get the full scope of it all, like you really need to watch it all. So having DC kind of pigeonholed, well not pigeonholed, but carve out this niche of one shot stories that don't mess up anything else, I think it's to their benefit. It's so good for it to just be a thing
Yeah.
that you could sit down and enjoy.
Exactly. Like when they To me, it was a kind of a cop out, but like that's just me and my beef with the suits. But I like
Yeah.
it in the sense that like this is why when we're talking about the books, I liked and I always say this, the Ultimate Universe before they destroyed it. And story-wise, they destroyed the Ultimate Universe. But I always liked the
Mhm.
Ultimate Universe because of how serious and grounded it was, and relatively
Yeah.
grounded because it's a fictional universe. Then they destroy it. The reason I like DC is because of its they stick with the writers, and then they have something called Black Label, which is their Ultimate Universe. And now with the movies, we have their DCEU, which is kind of like bleeding out. Like you got the Joker, which is not part of the DCU. It's its own thing under the DC label, but to me, it's like their Black Label. And the
Yeah.
Batman also is the same thing. It's just a
Mhm.
spill off of
It's a
that
it's
because
a self-contained story.
exactly. So you don't need to watch Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Which
I
is
think
all in all, these one-off contained stories just feel like they're coming at a good point, right?
facts.
So, moving on to another contained story,
Yes,
but on the other side of the boat, the Book of
I
Boba
like that.
Fett.
I like that. I like
So,
that.
I've literally just
Yeah,
started watching it
I was
today.
just gonna ask you. Yes.
I finished episode 3, so I'm this week's episode behind. I didn't watch this
Okay.
week's.
So we can talk about stuff and tell the
Yeah.
audience no spoilers or some
So
spoilers
no
maybe.
spoilers. I'm liking it a lot. And you know what? Like episode 3, I feel like it got some flack from critics and
But
it got
what do you
memed.
think? Yeah, because like there's certain things I didn't like about it.
I thought it was fine.
Like no problems. I think because so I enjoyed one because it was
Danny
just
Trejo. Danny
well
Trejo.
no
It's
he's
awesome.
no he's cool like that like that's not like my issue. It was and this is just the film nerd in me and like it's just little
Okay.
and it's nitpicking. So the story to me is fine. And I was talking to
Mhm.
one of my colleagues at work where one of the reasons like I think it was an editorial thing where the flash like they're trying to do like an arrow thing where they show flashbacks and then you
Yeah.
pair with the present, which I was like, if you just do the flashbacks, it's great in itself. And then when you do like the present day stuff, it's a little more slow burn. And
Mhm.
and yeah, a lot of people are definitely comparing this to Mandalorian, but then I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I do compare it like in my brain, but I say to myself like Mandalorian is a western, and then Book of Boba was a slow western. But then one of my managers at work who loves Star Wars as well, he said, honestly, it seems more like Godfather-esque. And I was like, oh, it seems
Yep.
more mafia. And I was like, okay, it's not a slow burn western, it's a mafia thing. And but that's not what bothered me, was like, okay, I enjoyed episode one. I really liked episode two for its action and
Mhm.
everything. Episode three was okay to me. I just didn't like some of the sequences, and especially it just seems like it took me away. Like they're the characters with the bikers, the colored Vespas.
Yeah.
So to me, it just some of the shots were just weird to me.
Yeah.
Um, oh, and they were this group of delinquents are so
Mhm.
poor that they had to steal water, but they stand out. They look very rich in the way they clothes. I think it's just like I said, this is just the film nerd in me
Yeah.
that I'm just like, oh, it took me away for a second. I was like, why do they have nice stuff and they can augment their bodies, but it just doesn't make sense to the story. But I guess they're
So
just.
I
But go ahead.
I've made it up to 3, so I've seen 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, I'm not talking about
Um
four.
yeah. So I immediately, obviously, it's gonna draw some comparisons to Mandalorian just
People
because
do
it's the
that.
same studio and everything. Big Daddy Johnny Favreau is doing it. So I'm just like, I I think when comparing it to The Mandalorian, I thought of, oh, this is a mafia movie. Like it's very much so like when I was watching it, I was like, no, this isn't a western like Mando. Like this is a mafia movie. Like this is the early Godfather. Like this is
Yeah,
it. Like he's
yeah,
building up his crime family. So that's how I've been looking at it this
yeah,
entire time. But where I compare it is the story and the production value, which I think are both there, right? The production value is right up there with Mandalorian. They're not holding anything back. Nothing's watered down. I think everything looks fantastic. even
Mm.
down to the aliens that they've already shown and had.
Oh, those
Um,
are great, yeah.
yeah, like, the mix of practical effects are really good, with some of the droids,
Mm.
as well as some of the, like, bigger animals. I think they're killing it there. The I will say that the flashbacks I like, and I like them as that plot device, right, to kinda bridge the gap between, like,
It's gonna
him
have to
getting
close
out
it
of
up.
yeah, him coming out of the Sarlacc pit to him getting, finding the Mandalorian. So it's got to be close to closing that up because we are now halfway point, right? It's 8 episodes season.
Mhm.
We're at episode 4 just dropped. So I think this is a perfect time to review it and then do some predictions. So it's got to be closing up because in episode 3 you get that flashback where he's in town and you see the what's
The
her name? Amy
stormtrooper helmet.
Sedaris. No,
Oh.
not only that, but you see in the background, the lady with the crazy hair and her droids where they're
Oh,
going
okay.
to Mando's ship.
Oh, I didn't peep that. Wow, I gotta see that again.
Yeah, so it's in episode 3, I believe. So
Okay.
it's happening almost simultaneously
Yeah.
as stuff from like season 1. So we're
But
close. So it's really close together. So it
and
has
you'll
the
see it in next episode too. Like, there's a lot of things
Mhm,
that they're like, "Oh," like, and when it comes to the flashback, it's getting closer. And then as, like, now just still not with the nerdy stuff, but when it comes to the film part of it, it's like
mhm.
or the story part, um, they can't, like, lean on flashbacks too much because then now it's like
Yeah.
the flashbacks are kinda carrying the weight of this show right now, and that's my opinion, but I don't know if you would agree. But, because, yeah, they're like, for episode 4, not to say I was sitting there and I'm like, "Whoa, I'm still in a flashback." I was like, "Okay," 'cause I think they're trying to
So
catch up to
that's something I
the
must say, like, I found myself falling into also. Like,
mm,
it'd be like almost you feel like it's the whole episode you're in a flashback, and then they bring it back and you're like, "Oh shit, yeah," like it's a little jarring sometimes. I don't think that they like I get how they're doing it. It's him having these dreams again, but I think it's a little bit of a cop out with
mhm.
this whole dream thing. Um They still I mean, I'm only on episode 3, they still haven't explained why he needs to be in the back to tank every night.
Oh,
Um
well, I already knew it since episode 1, but I guess when you see season 4, I mean, well, season 4, episode 4, they'll say it again, but I don't think they ever say it. I had my idea of what it was
mhm.
in episode 4. You
I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me
it does.
unless he gets, like, really hurt because think about it,
Do you
like,
want me to tell you?
in
Because it's like, I just thought this was my initial thought
I
in episode
guess, yeah, go
1,
ahead. Go for it.
because of his scars. Even in Mandalorian, I was like, his scar, like, when you see him in the tank, he's not as hurt as
Yeah.
he was in his flashbacks. Like, so
Yeah,
those
because it
scars that he
heals
got
him.
from the, uh,
Yeah.
from the pit. So
Mhm.
that's what it's for.
But to me, that's so weird because he survived so long without that. Because think about it, when he escapes the Sarlacc pit, and then he has, his extended period of we don't know how long it was, but he has this extended period of time in the desert with the Tusken Raiders. Like
Yeah.
he's scarred up, and it's not slowing him down. Like there's
It's not
nothing.
slowing him down. Like, I think at one point I thought it was, but then I made that thought process too.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, he's fighting pretty good," but then I don't know if it's like
I
it's like
the
scabbing or
only
like getting into the
yeah
nitty-gritty of the science of it, like, why is he doing, is it an appearance thing, or I don't know.
yeah. So the only thing I could think of is maybe it's an appearance thing so that he can look strong in front of others, um, or maybe it brings him to like peak performance.
Mm. I
Maybe
think
it's like
I
his
agree with
battery's charged at 100
I
instead of
like
85.
I like what you said before. It makes a lot more sense with the recharge battery because it's like, instead of looking sick and weak, why not look strong?
Yeah.
I think because that is the point of this mafia show, is for him to
Yeah,
look
it's
brolic in front
image.
of everyone. Yeah, it's an image thing, and I think it's done purposefully. But as a plot device to tell me the flashback, I guess I do
I feel
like.
like it's weak,
Oh yeah,
like
I
it's
agree.
not
I agree, but I'm enjoying the story. I just think it's weak because it's like, I like with Mandalorian, and not to compare it because Mandalorian is it's a new character, so I can get lost in
Mhm,
the show. But then when I'm
mhm.
in Boba Fett, I'm snapped back to the present, and I'm like, okay, I'm back on my couch. I'm not in the show anymore, and then we have to like kind of bring me back in. And then there's certain things like even like my own personal opinion with Episode 3 with those colored vegetables and these delinquents in nice suits. I was like, why is this? This doesn't make sense. They're poor. Why are they not? You know,
So
but let me think.
so yeah, I just think that, I when it comes to him leaving the back the tank and being us the viewer being brought back to present time, it's just too jarring
Yeah.
sometimes, and it breaks your immersion, and then you have to like recalibrate and come back. The only time that I think it was good, and it was because it was action packed, was when I guess it was this pat in episode 3 where the Wookiee uh soldier comes in and breaks him out of the
Oh,
thing.
Chrysanthemum. I
Yeah.
forget his name. But I even thought that I didn't think was great because
Really? I thought it was really cool.
like I thought so, and like I said, there's little things that pulled me out of it. And like
Mhm.
one of my colleagues at work said, it's also a Disney show. They're not gonna get too in the nitty gritty of it. So like first off, a Wookiee is strong as hell. So like when
Mhm.
he was squeezing, I was just like in the reality of Star Wars. I know it's fictional, but it's like we know Wookiees are really strong. They can dismember body parts from
Yeah.
humanoids. So when he was squeezing Boba, I was like, for a long time too. Like we're watching him. I was like, why didn't he pass out yet? And then he falls to the floor, and I'm like, okay. So and then he gets punched in the
Well,
face. There's little things that I was like, but my things with the delinquents too, their cybernetics were just like a little weird.
so
I was like,
I'm gonna get to the delinquents in a second. With this
yeah,
scene, I liked the fighting scene between him and Boba because yes, Wookiees are super strong, and when he was giving him the bear hug, you see
mhm,
Boba starting to fade, and then one of the delinquents comes in, the female, and she stabs the Wookiee in the leg, makes him let go. But I think that's a testament to Boba Fett being highly skilled and trained as this Mandalorian soldier because he can take all that. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Like he's so strong that he can contend with the Wookiee. The Wookiee was gonna kill him. Like, let's
okay,
remember that. He
okay,
just can hold
I believe
his weight a little bit longer than a
than
normal
normal.
person.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm with it.
So there's that. The whole delinquents thing, right? So the only besides the Vespas, and I'll get to the Vespas in a moment, besides the Vespas, the one thing that I was like, "That's weird," was I don't know if you remember in the car chase sequence,
Yep, I
one
think I
of
know what
them
you're gonna say.
the foot thing? Yeah.
It's so
So
dumb.
for those listening, there's a car chase scene, one of these, like, ragtag gang members comes up alongside the car and goes to kick it, and their foot is like a hydraulic press, and it just like is like a robot foot, and it goes like doof, 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 and it hits it and retracts. But it was such an
It
unnecessary
wasn't doing
thing,
anything. Like
and
it,
that's the one time where it broke me of like, oh, this is like fake,
yeah,
because all the other ones, not only did they have a purpose, but they seemed legitimate in that universe. So the guy's eye, when the guy's hand like flipped
mhm,
open and it's like a welding torch, like
yeah,
everything up until that point, I was like, okay, these could be scrappers, right? We've seen scrappers before in the Star Wars universe that just taken an extra step. One of them is able to mod themselves, like, and they mod each other.
yeah,
So that's not impossible. I think that lives very well in the Star Wars universe. Um, they are like, they're supposed to be these like badass gang members. They're stealing stuff. So maybe I can forgive the clothes.
mhm,
But the one thing I
yeah.
can't forgive is the candy painted Vespas. You know, and I was trying, and I had seen the memes before seeing the
They look like
episode.
Power Rangers.
Yeah, they look like Power Rangers, or it looks like the
Even that
start
scene
of
that was shot, it looked like very SPD. I was like, "Why are they doing this?"
yeah. And I was like, while I'm watching, I couldn't help but focus on it, and I was really trying to watch it objectively. And I even was, like, trying to make up reasons as to how it could be like this. So I went back to episode 2 of Attack of the Clones, right? You know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, they're in that big neon city, everything's kinda colorful, but dark at the same time. I was like, "You know what? Maybe they coulda got themselves, like, something from, like, the big metro area, and they're able to keep it up." And then I'm thinking, "Wait, these are supposed to be, like, urchins." And I was like,
That and it's remember, it's not during the prequels, it has to be after the sequel era.
"Well, it's after the sequel era, right?" But well, no, it's before the sequels, after the originals.
No,
It's
no,
in
no.
between.
Oh, when I don't count the new ones that we saw. I'm talking when I say sequels, I
Okay.
mean the original 3.
Original, okay, yes.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
when I
yes,
say
it's
it's after
after
that.
yes, it's after the original trilogy. So technically speaking, though that technology would still be available, you know, it's
It
just
would
the
be, but
big
not as
city.
colorful, not as
It's just the big
beautiful.
city version of it. But yeah, seeing them like that, it just didn't fit their characters. Like now I could or it didn't fit the world, I should say. I could see if they had the same thing
Oh, in a
in more
different planet.
muted in a different planet, or
Okay.
have the same exact vehicles and the same exact modifications and clothes. If their vehicles looked a little more grungier, like the paint jobs and stuff, like I get it because it's trying to mimic the motorcycle gang aesthetic of like when you see motorcycle gangs, like typically their bikes are their babies, right? So they take
Mhm.
care of it very, very well. It
Yeah.
just seems like in this world filled with beige, like
Yeah. Yeah.
everything is beige. These colors are so bright,
Yeah.
and they're not just colors. Like they're not like Boba Fett's matted
Yeah. It's not like
green.
that. These are
They're
bright,
shiny and glittery. They are candy painted
glossy.
like lowriders on the West Coast. Like
Yeah.
so, it's jarring to the eyes, and I found myself trying to make excuses for it, and I was just
And
like, you know,
I couldn't.
it's
I
just
just tapped out.
unnecessary.
Yeah, like,
I was
so my
like,
manager told me, yeah,
the vehicles made sense. Everything made sense except for the color,
yeah.
you know, and
My
I could
manager was
understand them
telling me,
stealing the water because the guy was overcharging it. You know, they're into self modifications.
yeah,
You know, one of them could be super smart. So all those things to me made sense. The
mhm.
one thing I couldn't get past was those colors because it didn't fit that world.
Yeah, like, so, like, yeah, my manager was telling me, and it's also and this was a directorial decision, which I understand if this was a nod, and I understand nods are cool, Easter eggs are cool, but this was a nod to, a real life, Vespa group in the UK. But I was like, where does this take? Why would you nod this into a Star Wars world where it's all a nice tannish, brownish air, planet? Why would we? Why would you do
That's
that
a
kind of
dumb
nod?
nod.
It's a dumb nod. Like you could have done it in a night, and that's another thing. This entire story, the book of Boba, is going to take place in Tatooine. You can't just be bringing these types of colors unless some guy was selling it, and like there has to be some sort of story. Like, where did they get these bikes? Why is it so nice?
Yeah, because it
Like, and now
doesn't
there's
seem like
sandstorms all the time.
yeah, like it doesn't make sense. Like, how could they have put that together?
Yeah,
Like if they would have made those bikes be like souped up but like modded and like kind of like pieces kind of like themselves
yeah.
would make so much more sense.
Oh yeah,
The fact that
facts.
they were so crisp and clean and colorful and bright, it was just too much.
Yeah.
And you know, the nod and they must have thought about it. Like it's Back to the Future. You know, it's Back to the Future 2. I don't know if
Mhm.
you got that, but that entire chase sequence is a nod to Back to the Future, well, 1, 2, and 3 because they have the same chase sequence in each movie.
Oh wow.
But specifically Back to
Oh
the
wow.
Future 2, when Biff's gang, they're all cyborgs on these colorful hoverboards
Yeah.
chasing down Marty
I
McFly.
mean, now that you say it out loud, yeah.
It's that scene, and then at the end, the car that they're chasing does the same thing that Back to the Future 1, Biff's car does when he skids
Oh
out into the manure
yes.
truck,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing except this time around it's like it's fruit. That is
Yeah.
the first thing I thought of, you know, and
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, that sequence, that's a good nod," because that in itself, you have to know that movie pretty well to pick that out.
Yeah.
But the colors being weird, that weird foot kick, like
That and I was
hydraulic
gonna get to
thing.
that. That would have been a perfect use when he was finding the Wookiee, 'cause then it's like, okay,
Yes.
he stops his foot, and then it just extends and gives him a nice that would have been a
Mhm.
but doing this little tap on the car that it wasn't strong enough to move a moving car or a moving, vehicle.
It was
Um,
like, I'm assuming we're gonna see more of them, and these modifications are gonna be a
better.
yeah, they're gonna, like, have a better
Mhm.
use,
Yeah,
but this first run, like, introduced because I think this group had a very good, idea
intro?
behind it.
Okay.
I I think it was a very good no, I think it was a terrible intro, but I
Mm.
think it was a good idea, like, this
Oh, yeah.
group, it
Okay.
you know, they're a gang that lives in the crappy part of Tatooine, right? Run by these slumlords, and they don't have anywhere out, and all they can do is, their hobby, right, is
Yeah,
to modify themselves and their bikes. But their bikes look like they're store bought from a candy shop. Like they look like toys, and it just
yeah.
wasn't. It didn't fit them, the world, the whole instance, and that killed it. And that guy with that kick, it was so immersion
And it was
breaking.
very intentional too, that, like, the camera was focused on
Yeah.
it, like, what was the
I
point
was
of
just
it?
like I was like, "Why?" Like, you didn't need to make this a part of the show. It's like it
Yeah.
was unnecessary. If it woulda came out, like you said, when in that fight, that's a crazy move to pull out in a fight. That makes you way more formidable against this big Wookiee.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you do it then?
Now
Yeah,
that
it
we're
was
talking about it, the Wookiee fight was okay because 'cause I'm like, now that I'm like, a Wookiee and he's a bounty hunter, he's supposed to be badass, so that makes sense why
yeah.
he was able to stand up against these kids.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, think about it, like, they're not trained assassins, they
Yeah,
just have a gun and a knife, and, the only one that's trained well, the only 2, I guess, but she wasn't in the scene till later, um,
oh,
Boba
Fennec,
Fett and Fennec.
yeah,
So, Boba Fett held his own while he's half naked, and then the kids come in and just, kinda get the Wookiee off balance, and then Fennec comes in and finishes it off,
yeah.
but I'm just it
Well,
was the weakest of the 3, I will say,
yeah,
but I did not I still thought that the story flow and everything was good.
mhm,
I wish that the flashbacks, like, coming back from the flashbacks weren't so jarring. Like, I get that they need, like, a little MacGuffin thing to, like, be like, "Oh, this is why he's seeing this," but
yeah,
I don't
and
know,
it
it's
it
just
happens every time he's in the tank, so I'm like, okay, like,
yeah,
that to me is a nice little, like, catalyst to bring me back, but it's still jarring because you spend so much time. Because like, when
and
I
that
think about
yeah,
it, like, when you go back to the show Arrow, it's not like one big flashback, then the present. It's intercut with, like, after the
yeah,
commercials, you either come back to the present or go back to the flashback, or you do an entire episode that's in the past.
yeah.
That's what the show did.
I think that
But
they would
yeah,
have done better like that, and
agreed.
because
But it makes their present
having
day look a little weak, though.
yeah, and having that's the thing, having 3/4 of the episode take place in the flashback, and then, you're so invested in those stories because they're good as well. When you come back into the present, it's almost like, all right, you don't spend enough time in the present for it to be impactful. So I'm hoping in this second half, like, they kind of, taper out from the flashbacks, and then the present day takes control
Yeah.
of
That's
the
I'm
episodes.
hoping for that too. I'm definitely hoping that. Like, I'll tell you now, like, seeing episode 4 today, I liked it. I don't have any complaints now that I think about it. I have to probably watch a review just to get some other insight, but episode 4 was good. One of what I'll say also the common theme between, episode 1 and 3 is that it's directed by Robert Rodriguez. And
Yeah.
people are like saying like he's not like I think he's like he's not like for me he's not some sort of like Alfonso Cuarón director, but like
Mhm.
he's competent and
I
he
mean,
does a
he's
good
yeah,
job.
he's yeah.
He did that episode in Mandalorian, which I enjoyed because Boba Fett was badass in that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
Which one did
that's
he do in Mando?
was with Boba Fett
Oh, with Boba Fett? Okay.
when I think when Boba Fett actually makes his appearance and
Mhm.
helps Mando get Grogu back or try to get
Yeah,
Grogu. So that was a good
got
one.
you. Yeah,
But
that was
yeah,
cool.
this series now that you're like semi up to date, it's I enjoy it. I'm not gonna stop it. It's Star Wars, Honestly, this is just palate cleanser for Obi-Wan. That's all I'm waiting for.
Yep.
The only reason I got
Oof.
into Disney Plus is just
Oof.
Obi-Wan. That's
Oof.
woo! Boy.
I can't wait. I was thinking about it as I was watching Boba Fett. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, because there's a portion. I think it's in one of the flashbacks in episode 2, I think, or
Mm,
1. I don't remember. It's
probably
when
1.
that gang like ransacks that people's house
Yeah,
and then sprays paints on it, and then later on they ransack the camp.
yeah.
Um, so I saw that. I was like, "Wait, is that Luke's uncle and aunt's house? Like, is that?" And I was like, "No, it can't be because it takes place after all this stuff."
Mhm,
So, and then from then on, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait for Obi Wan,"
mhm.
because like we have to get some sort of nod, right? At some point, like they're not gonna let us go into this like untouched. Like I need some like at the
Yeah,
end
because
of
it's going back too. We're going back in time. We're going back after
yeah.
the prequels.
So at the end, like I don't know, I need something that like Boba's gonna be like, oh, I haven't seen him since this, or I wonder what happened here, or I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I want something to nod to it,
yeah. You
or
know what I
even
do wanna
give
did
me
you
an after credit scene at the end of the series
if they do an
that
after
ties
credit
it
scene, it's
in.
most likely gonna be an Ahsoka thing. But then I don't know what they
Mm,
well, when you see episode 4 and then we have our, like, theories later on, like, just a me and you conversation, we have our theories. Because like, when I think of they would have to make sense to do an after credit scene with, like, an Ahsoka or,
mhm,
another because Ahsoka takes place in that time as well. It's after
yeah,
the the Empire falls. Like, after I'm gonna watch Clone Wars, the last season of Clone Wars again, and then watch Obi-Wan, because I'm just like,
mm.
I
You
gotta do
have
it.
to do it that way.
And then
Yeah,
watch
that's the
episode
best way to
3
do it.
just 'cause I gotta do it. I can't wait to write the
I can't
Mace
wait.
Windu show. And so I'm gonna write Mace. I'm gonna be the one writing Mace Windu. I'm saying now.
What if you know what I think? And I'm gonna call it here. This is Justin's crazy prediction for Star
I'll
Wars,
put
right?
on the
We
hats,
did it.
guys.
We did it all through Spider-Verse. I mean, Spider-Man 3 No Way Home.
The
So
Justin verse.
now we're gonna get into the Justiverse in Star Wars. So I think the best way to bring Mace Windu back, which
And we had this discussion, but we'll do it
I
again.
guess technically could happen, but he'd have to die. Like we'd have to watch him die later
Yeah,
on.
didn't we say the
But
ghost?
yes, but I think
Mhm.
in a real because he's a ghost in the last sequel movie that
No,
was
no one cares about
garbage.
that. We're not talking about that though.
That one. So he's a ghost because he talks to Ray. But anyway, what if he showed up in Ahsoka in that show? I could totally see him showing up in
Oh yeah,
Ahsoka.
because they definitely know each other. But it
Yeah.
has to be Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
It has to be
Well,
Nick Fury.
like maybe like she stumbles upon a figure or someone who's running something and it ends up being him, and he's not completely dead. Maybe he's got to be disfigured. But then at the end of whatever arc it is, he has to die. Like there's no way for him to continue to live on. Like he would have to die. But I could see him showing up in the Ahsoka
But
show.
then, yeah, it's still like if he shows up in he's old as hell. Like this is after
Yeah.
the original trilogy. Like he fell out
Yeah.
the window. What was he doing this whole time? But mm,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I wouldn't write that.
Because then
I want to write the Finn and Mace show, and it'll be a buddy
so
cop movie.
he would be well, he would be a ghost, I guess. I was
Yeah,
like he
that's what I'm
would be
saying. He'll
even
be a ghost.
older.
No, no,
But
I want a ghost following Finn, and it'll just be like, and I'll have a nice like '90s sitcom opening. It's like Finn and Mace doing their thing, playing with the Force, and some weird stuff, and that would be my show. And it just
I think
George Lucas would probably hate me.
I think Ahsoka could find Mace. He's old. He's definitely blind because of the
It
lightning
would
he
be
took to
some
the
like
face.
Yoda thing when Luke found him, so because he
Yeah.
dies at some point or in
Yep.
that movie.
Yeah, he would have to be a Yoda type deal, and maybe he helps Ahsoka train further. The Jedi are gone. Mace has nothing to stand on anymore. Ahsoka was the last, real Jedi that was trained before Anakin moved on, and then now she's kind of like left the Jedi behind.
Yeah,
but
she's
I
just
could see her
wandering.
stumbling into Mace. He can mentor her a little bit, then he dies. And then, that's a perfect way to be like, hey, you know, here's an after credit scene of Mace when he was younger and what he was doing this entire time before you saw him. And boom, another show. You're welcome, Disney. Right there. It's
Mm.
just it tees it up. It tees it right up because then you could be like, as soon as you see him, everyone's gonna be like, he's alive. Like, what has he been doing? And then immediately,
So we
that's a
we
new
just get the
show.
scene from, the prequel of him falling out the window. But then that would be a little
That's the
bit
trailer.
difficult.
That's the trailer right there.
That right there is
That's
the
the
trailer,
trailer
like,
for their new show. It's he falls off and then he ends up like hitting into like a cargo ship or something because all the ships
yeah.
like be flying in the air. He falls on a cargo ship and he goes away somewhere.
The only thing is this would have to be I would love to see it in, like, Clone Wars animated because Sam Jackson would be too old.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yes.
it can't be, I would love if they can do some de-aging, but the de-aging technology, it could be noticeable. Like, you can do a good job, but it can be noticeable.
In long stretches, it's really hard to pull off. The only time I've seen it where it's not jarring is in Rogue One with General Tarkin.
Oof, that was the one of the most perfect things I've ever seen. That was
Anything else, I've always been like, like you could tell. That
even
is the Rogue
Princess
One is
Leia
the
was like, you can see
only
it,
one.
but Tarkin was really good. Yeah.
That was the only one where I was like, nah, that's perfect. Like they did that. In short bursts, it's fine, but we can't rely on that for an entire thing.
It has to be
I think
animated, like, it has to be like
the
Clone
best way to
Wars.
go is Clone Wars animated. Maybe, uh, yeah, Clone Wars
Well, Clone
animated.
Wars, think about it, you saw season 7. That the production
Yeah,
value on Clone Wars was really
so
good.
good.
So, like,
I
like,
mean, you could.
compared
It's a stark contrast from the
like, the
first
last
six
season.
seasons to that.
No,
Yeah,
even the last season, like, because from
that's what
season
I'm
1 to
saying.
6, you can see the gradual, but from season 7 to 6, it's like, it's definitely improved. Then you
That's what I'm
got Bad
saying.
Batch.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Bad Batch. I need to watch it.
Ooh, you're missing out, boy. It's good. It's so good. Like, you got, oh, damn, but you didn't even watch the show. That's what I'm saying. Uh, Rebels, because this guy,
Oh,
Kanan
that.
Jarrus, is in this, and everything connects to Ahsoka and everything. Oh, I hate you
That's
so
what I'm
much.
hearing.
I hate you so much. I'm saying this on the air. I hate you so much.
Oh, Rebels, you don't love watching super Disney
You're not a
kiddie
Star Wars
versions
fan.
of
That's what
things.
it is. You're not a Star Wars
Next, you're
fan.
gonna be like, "Oh, Justin, you gotta watch Star Wars Resistance. It's
No,
amazing. It
oh no,
connects."
I don't wanna, dude, if I'm not watching it now, why would I tell you to watch that? First, that's part of the new franchise. That's why I'm not like, eh. The Rebels deals with
BB-8's in it. You gotta
rebellion.
watch it.
Is he really? Why is he
Oh
in
yeah, I
it?
think so. I don't know.
Oh, that's weird.
I mean, he
Anyway,
lived a whole life before, like we saw him. He was a droid forever with Poe.
oh, I guess. I thought Resistance
Oh,
was
apparently Poe Dameron is supposed to be getting like a thing too. I saw there's like rumors that he's gonna get a movie or something.
well, probably after the Rogue Squadron gets made, or I think it's a
Yeah,
Rogue Squadron, but there's still
Rogue
a
Squadron.
Star Wars movie. Well, Patty Jenkins was tied to it, and I think she decided not to be a part of it. I forget what the reason was. I have to look back into it to just correct my facts.
Hmm.
There's a lot. There's a lot, but I don't care. I'm just all we care about is Obi-Wan. That's it, and then a
Yes.
possible Mace
So
Windu that I'm writing.
Boba Fett. Let's wrap this up here. Boba Fett, pretty good so far. There's definitely
Performance?
some room for improvement. I'd
Yes.
give it. I'd give it like 2 and 3/4 thumbs. I mean, one and
Okay.
three quarter thumbs.
Yes.
So it's not perfect. There are some room for improvements, but I think it's going in the right direction, and I hope it keeps getting better.
Oh, and I'll say, like,
Now,
don't compare it to Mandalorian. It is its
no,
own genre.
it is very much a mafia type show movie. Like it's way more akin to Sopranos than it is to the Western.
There
Like
we go. Yep.
it's a crime family movie, and it's the beginnings of the crime family. What is it, Godfather 3, I think, and it's growing. It's
Yes.
not the height of the mob family. Like it's a growing mob, and you see it as he's like picking up
Enjoy it
new
for what it
people and stuff.
is.
Yeah, so enjoy it for that. You cannot compare it to Mandalorian because it is not the same type of show. But moving into something else, that is a whole bag of stuff. This is like quite possibly some like ridiculous um news. Like I've never
Yeah,
well,
stocks went up after this. But go ahead.
Xbox and Microsoft have acquired Activision Studios.
Activision.
So Activision, for those that don't know, it's like one of the biggest gaming like companies. I mean, I think it is the biggest.
Yeah,
Um
there's a lot of properties that they have.
they have so it's Activision Blizzard that they acquired.
Yes,
So
that's a part of it.
Blizzard being Overwatch, Activision being things like
Call of Duty,
Call of Duty.
the
Like
one-time
so
Call of Duty.
now so Microsoft now has here are some of the top franchises because I had this pulled
Oh,
up.
yeah, I
So
saw a list too.
Microsoft,
Even Crash. Crash was under it, which was
yeah, Crash
surprising.
Bandicoot, Overwatch, all of the Call of Duty studios. So I believe it was Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Raven, Warhammer. Let me pull it up. But they have a ridiculous amount of IPs and studios now in their pocket. So now Xbox is a super powerhouse for exclusives. I mean, they've been racking it up for a while now.
Yeah.
I think like quietly behind closed doors, they've just been acquiring things so that they can really take over. And I think they finally dealt the death blow. Like this is such a
Oh,
massive
another
get for them.
another thing that I thought was because to me, Crash and Spyro were PlayStation to me, but it's because it's under the Activision belt. They got that
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So it was PlayStation, but now it's not. It's under. It was under Activision, so now all those exclusives and IPs belong to Microsoft. So I know Sony released a statement saying that they believe that Microsoft will play nice and still keep the multi-platform, but they don't have to. They could
They don't
just
have to.
say they could just be like, "Hey, if you want to play Call of Duty, you need an Xbox."
Yeah.
Done. Sony stocks plummeted
Oh, yes, that did
after
happen.
the news broke of the deal. And yeah, right here, they lost $20 billion after the Xbox Activision Blizzard announcement. So this is it's shaking up the games industry because there hasn't been an acquisition like this, I don't think ever. So
Right.
Jay, does
Oh,
this
yeah.
mean like are you gonna go and pick up an Xbox now?
Not necessarily, no. So this is kind of like a tangent, but like for a couple weeks now, I've been fighting with myself whether to get a PS5 now or wait. What's making me want to get it more is because the next Horizon game drops next month. And it
Hmm.
might be my last system because I'm like I haven't really been playing my PS4 like that until recently.
Yeah.
But this acquisition is dope. I hope for the best for Xbox. I have no hate towards it. I just don't have an Xbox. I'm not playing anything specific.
Hmm.
But Xbox definitely needed this because for the longest time they didn't have original or like exclusive IPs. Like I always
Yeah.
complained initially when they had BioShock. PlayStation didn't have that. And BioShock was very popular. Then they had Mass Effect. Then it became multi-platform. I'm like, you guys keep you like I was like, you Xbox is not holding these popular properties. I don't know why that happened. There could be money involved where they just like weren't making enough money, so they decided to
I just
just
think that their those contracts didn't last that
yeah,
long,
that's what
like
I'm
for
thinking. Like these contracts
exclusivity.
for like
Like they
yeah.
just didn't.
And Xbox been holding their own, but it's like how are you gonna hold your own for with just Halo, Gears, and Forza for so
You
long? That's
can't.
just yeah, you can't. So
Gears,
like
I mean, Forza is such a niche audience.
oh yeah, facts.
Gears is like pretty much
It's
dead. I know
fire.
that they're
It's
gonna
yeah,
reboot it now, but the only thing I guess is
Halo, but not
Halo. Halo was a pretty big one, but
and they let
Halo, you know, it
Fable
had
drop too. Fable was a
that's the
thing
thing.
and then
Like,
it dropped.
yep.
And they were focused on games that just didn't like I remember telling you this once before. I remember getting an Xbox One because they announced an exclusive game where you can play with dragons. And I'm always gonna say it, Scalebound. It was fire.
Mhm.
You would have been the rider of dragons, the mother of three drag whatever the Khaleesi, whatever the nicknames were, and they just scrapped it to make
Yep.
a pirate game that doesn't to me, my personal opinion, doesn't look like I want to play it. I wanted to be a I want to play with my humanoid character and a dragon, but
It
no.
was one of those things where, you're talking about Sea of Thieves. Sea of
Sea of
Thieves,
Thieves,
like,
that's what it was.
it didn't set the world on fire, and then it found its audience, and then it grew, and it was a pretty big deal, but then it went away. It didn't have, in my
Yeah,
eyes at least, I mean, I'm sure it still has a very dedicated fan base, but it doesn't have the legs to continue in the public eye.
yeah. But
It's
you
you
know, like
gotta be a
another
real
thing
big
too.
fan of that to keep it
Yeah,
going.
going back to your statement about Sony believes that they'll play nice, but like let's say they do, Xbox is always going to make money, or Microsoft rather, because things are now starting to look like multi cross platforming. So let's say Call of
Mhm.
Duty 2021 comes out, or I say 2021, 2022 comes out for Xbox, comes out for PS4. Or I still get to play with my friends that have a PS4 or an Xbox, but who's still making that money? It's definitely
Yeah.
going to be Microsoft. So they're definitely going to. I can see them playing nice with stuff like that. I can see them being douches about not letting PlayStation have Spiral or Crash. But there are games that like, what if Diablo? They're like, nah, nah, nah. There's gonna be Xbox. There's not gonna be for, and you have to have an Xbox if you want to play Diablo. It's gonna be like that. They get to pick and
It's
choose
gonna
what
be
they
like
want,
that. Dude,
and I can
listen
see
to
that.
some of the studios that they have now. 343,
Oh
Obsidian,
yeah, that's
Playground
good.
Games, The Coalition, Turn 10,
Hmm.
Rare, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Compulsion, Undead Labs, World Edge, Bethesda.
Yeah,
Bethesda is now an Xbox studio. id Software, Hitman, that's now Xbox.
yeah,
Arcane Studios, what is that? That's League of Legends, I think, right?
I believe so.
No, that's not.
No,
No,
no, no, no,
uh,
no. I
that's
forget
not.
who.
That's not. Arcane is something else. Machine Games, Roundhouse Games, Tango GameWorks, ZeniMax Online. Then they have Activision Blizzard. They have Blizzard Entertainment. That's Overwatch. That's World of Warcraft. They have King, which is Candy Crush, that big mobile game giant. Infinity Ward, Triarch. Those two are
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Studios, Toys for Bob, that's the new Crash studio. Demonware, High Moon, Beanox. Beanox is another Call of Duty studio. They have
I didn't know they made it on
everything.
Jesus.
They have everything now. It's to the point where it's like what are they gonna possibly contend with? Because if it's one of those things like a business standpoint, right? Xbox could just be like, nah, you need us now,
Man,
and
they
they
could.
would
They could
be,
literally do that.
and they wouldn't be like they wouldn't be wrong for doing that. That's a business decision. And honestly, I saw this and I was like, I've been a PlayStation guy. I didn't have PS3. So I started out, I had everything back in the day, right? And then it pared down. I got PlayStation 2. I didn't get the original Xbox. Then I got Xbox 360. I didn't get PS3. Then I got PS4. Didn't get the Xbox One.
Like the same.
Now I'm in that space where I saw this happen and I was like, I've already been looking at Xbox for a while now, and
Hmm.
it's been in my radar of like, I think I want that. But now this kind of solidifies it. The only thing tying me to PS5 is Spider-Man. Like that's
Oh,
the only thing that I would care about
I
to
just
own
say,
a PS5
come
for.
over to my place.
And that's the thing, right? Like do I like I can't justify getting a game console for one exclusive. Like,
Oh yeah, and that was what I was going through too for a couple weeks. I was just like the only games that I wanted, if I because look, I didn't see myself getting a PS5 for a long time or ever, but then I was like, oh
mhm.
man, like Horizon is dropping, that which will come out for PS4, but it's
Ooh,
gonna blow up my
Horizon,
PS4.
yeah.
Horizon, Spider-Man, and God of War. Those are like the three things that is just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are going to be other games
Those
that
three are
that gonna
solid.
come out. There are going to be other games that come out that I'm going to want. There's going to be a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which like there's going to be some stuff. But like the thing is, the way I play, I used to play with my friends online, but I don't do that anymore. So I'm not like waiting to come home from
Mhm.
work to play online. So I don't see myself needing an Xbox because, like, if my friends got Xbox, I'm probably not gonna get on because I'm not gonna play. I would probably play
Yeah.
Halo once and then that's it. For a long time, my PlayStation 4 was just my streaming service, but now I got an Apple
Yep.
TV, so that's now my PS4 is off. The only game I'm playing now is Tales of Arise. Probably after that, I'm gonna try to go finish some old games I never got to, finish because I downloaded a lot of free games, and
And
now
see,
I'm
that was
I'm
my
in the
thing
process.
with and that was my thing with PlayStation too, right? My Switch is what I live on.
Mhm.
Um, I don't ever touch my PS4 anymore. It used to be a streaming thing, and then like the only streaming thing I used it for was HBO Max, and
Mm.
then LG got the HBO
Oh,
Max
you got the
app, so I didn't need to do it ever. So now I don't touch it. I mean, the last time I turned it on, maybe October,
oh, wow, that's a long time.
maybe
I've had those
November.
I've had those times too.
I doubt November, but like like October-ish, and I was playing that zombie game, not Last of Us.
Oh, even Last of Us 3 when that drops. But, uh, it's not Left 4 Dead. It was like the sequel to Left 4 Dead? Uh,
No, it was a zombie game. It was
Dying Light?
no, it was
Ooh, it was an open world one. Open world game with a motorcycle guy. Why am I forgetting the name?
that one.
Days
That one.
Gone.
Come on, Jay. Days Gone.
That was
Yes.
free. That was free on
It was
PSN. That's
free
why
and
I downloaded it.
I was going back through my backlog, right? I had gone through a couple games and that was where I left off. I'd never finished it. But yeah, I didn't touch it. Maybe I'll give it November, beginning of November. I haven't touched it since then, and I, I have no real reason to, I wanted Spider-Man Miles Morales. I didn't get it. I'll get it at some point, but you know, God of War 2, I really want to play. Spider-Man 2, when it eventually comes out, I really want to play. Horizon 2, what was it, Forbidden West, right?
Yeah.
Really want to play. Like,
Those are just like
but
3 or 4
then,
games, but then it's like,
yeah, but that's it. And then you think of, I have the full list now. Check this out of all the
mm,
major franchises that Xbox has. So these are just the Activision ones. Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro.
oh, yeah, I
And
saw that.
these are just the heavy hitters. They have
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yes, they
The
do.
Blizzard franchises, Warcraft,
Mhm.
StarCraft. StarCraft to this day is still like the
So
biggest,
popular.
yeah, like the
So
most
much so.
popular game ever made, and they have all those
Some of these are
competitions.
only PC, so it's not even
Yeah,
having
some of these are
console,
only
so they could
PC.
just be like, "Oh, this is just Microsoft making money."
Yeah. So Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch, big seller for them. Diablo, we were just talking about that.
Mm.
Hearthstone,
Yep.
another really big one, interactive card game, free to play, I believe. Heroes of the Storm, and then, like I said before, they now own Candy Crush, and then it's just those are that's all the major
Yeah.
franchises that they now have. Like, it's almost impossible because they now acquired this, and the Xbox CEO actually put out a statement saying that they are anxious to revive some old
Like Guitar Hero.
properties. They're going to put out a Guitar Hero,
Oh,
and
yeah.
when they put that out, that's going to be a system seller. They're going to move a ridiculous amount of units just because of Guitar Hero.
Yeah,
I
'cause you're right, that died, and I remember everyone getting that game.
They come out with a new Guitar Hero and it looks good, and I can get a guitar with it, it's a wrap. I'm gonna
Facts.
go get an Xbox with Guitar Hero, and they would be stupid to let that go multi-platform.
Oh, yeah, because that's gonna sell the
So
system. Because then or, like, if they do that, it'd be so petty. They let it go multi-platform, but you could only get the bundle with the guitar with the Xbox, but if you have a PS or PlayStation, whatever it is, you have to buy it separately. Like, that's you could get the game, but you have to buy it separately at a
that would suck.
that's
You'd have
just
to
to be
buy the
petty,
game and the guitar separately.
just to be petty, and no bundles.
But It's there's nothing stopping them from doing that. I don't
Yeah.
think that that's a thing,
And I
it's
think, yeah, to each his own really. Like I speak for myself. Like I'm gonna get a PS5 because like I
mhm.
don't play that much. I'm really in it for the story of these single player games. I'm not playing
Yeah,
online.
same.
But if you're a multi, definitely go head over to Xbox.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you got
you
the
need to
money,
be
get
there.
both. Because I remember, well, even now I have both. I have my Xbox One and my PS4. Haven't used my Xbox One. I gave it to my sister because she wanted to play. She was like, "Oh, I want to buy a system." I'm like, no, no, just take this because she doesn't play as
Mhm.
much either. But I'm like, here's an Xbox One. So like, if I had money, I'd probably get both just to have it, just to stunt. But because of
Yeah, if I
my,
had money,
yeah,
for sure,
no question. Now we
but
can
at
play
this point in
online.
my life, I have to get either or. I'm not an online person,
Yeah, online would be the
I
switch
mean,
for us.
like I said, Switch is like where I live online really. But like PlayStation, like I've always used it for single player experiences. Don't get me wrong, once in a while I'll get an online game, but it's just those are environments that I usually live in, right? And for Switch, I was big Splatoon. I even did Pokemon Unite,
Mhm.
Smash Bros, Mario Kart, Mario Party,
It's
and
just so
then
easy and not as hectic. The rules,
Fortnite.
you know the
Yeah.
rules, and you can just go in. Like anyone can pop in Mario Kart. Anyone can pop in Super Mario Bros. Like it's been so long since I played Call of Duty. Like I was whack back then, but I like probably can do
Oh,
okay.
I couldn't possibly even think
I won't
about
be
joining a
nice.
Call of Duty
I'll play the
lobby.
story. I'll play the story. It
Yeah.
came out free on PS4 like a few months ago, and I was pretty good at playing the story. But I'm not nice to be online.
Yeah, and I like those stories. I never didn't like these games for the stories. It's just multiplayer was always a secondary thing, and now that it's been moved to the primary focus, it's just that's not for me. Like I
Yeah,
would play once in a while, but I'm not the type of person where I'm gonna play too much or be able to
yeah, like 6
capitalize on that.
hours playing Call of
Like
Duty.
Fortnite, right? Like I play Fortnite on Switch, and yes, it's cross platform, but that's where I'm comfortable playing. Like I'm not gonna move over and play on a different system. Like it's just not for me at this point.
I can see that. Yeah,
It's just it's just I like PlayStation for their stories. Horizon, God of War, Spider-Man, like fantastic stories. And they're stories that you can't get anywhere else.
yeah.
So,
There and other
I would
titles,
love
Last of Us, some Final
I would
Fantasy games.
yeah, and I would love to get yeah, the Final Fantasy remake was fantastic. Last of Us is a great game. And I would love to be able to get both, but you can't always. And the thing with PlayStation, which sucks, is they are still like. Don't get me wrong, Xbox is still has low numbers, but you can go into a store and pick up an Xbox. You cannot do that with PlayStation 5 still. You
Yeah,
cannot.
yeah,
And it's so bad that they're going to start making more PS4s to
which makes
offset the
no sense.
demand,
Which makes no
which
sense.
is it's dumb. So that means you now have to redo these PS5 exclusives because why would anyone else buy a PS4? Like that
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. You need the whole drive for getting a PS5 were these new stories that are going to be told. But if you're going to be making more PS4s, those PS4 versions have to be pretty compatible, Like,
it's just gonna make the Xbox, the PS4 sing. And if you don't even have a PS4 Pro, because I don't have a Pro, I have the PS5
yeah, I have
Slim,
the OG.
and you have the OG. Like my friend has the
Well, no,
OG.
I have this the slim, the slim.
Oh, you have the Slim. He had the OG. It's a brick, and it's just every time
Yeah.
he turns it on, and it's singing, and I'm like, and it's not even like in a bad ventilated area. I'm like, dude, that he got a PS5 now, but it's like you have to be on Twitter to hear the drops and then go buy. And like he set up a Walmart account for me just so I can get those early drops. And I'm like,
And that's so ridiculous to me. If I
it's
can't
never
just
been like
walk
that.
in and buy it, like
It was
that to
never like
me is
that.
a barrier. It's a barrier of entry because if I could go and walk in and buy a console right now, if I had $500 to spend and I
Hmm.
went up to the counter and they were like, "Oh, we don't have any PS5s, but here's a really cool looking Xbox, whatever." I'd be like, "All right, give me that."
Mm.
Like to
Yeah,
me, I'm not a type of person that
that's
I'm
the
gonna be
experience.
scouring the internet to figure out how to get one of these things. I don't devote my time to stuff like that. So it's a wild. thing that you have to do. Like, don't get me wrong, back in the day, you used to have those crazy lines that you'd have to wait
Oh,
on and all
yeah.
that, but they
It
were
wasn't this
there.
bad. It wasn't bad, and this all that's all due to, like, COVID as well.
Yeah.
A lot has to do because of COVID, and it's not like it's Sony's fault. A lot of and, there's some fingers you can point at, like, there which is crazy. When I learned about bots buying, items online,
Well,
they would just
yeah.
buy in bulk, and I'm like, "Dude, like, why are people" just so they can resell it at a higher price, and it's just like, "Alright, now you're just being a villain, and you're just a villain at this point." And it
Well,
really
yeah,
sucks.
now you're talking about it's just people exploiting the system. Like, it's not like, back in the day when you used to have like a hookup, right? Who would have everything and you could just go to them. No, now there's a million of those types of people that are resellers now. It's
Yeah,
not the one guy on the block. It's you go online and you find literally a million of them. But because they know that they have a product you want, and because, especially gaming and this like nerd culture has been on such a rise the past, what, decade and a half,
yeah,
there's more people that are into this, like, more than
yeah,
ever.
exactly.
So they have the supply, you have the demand. There's people out. It's the same people that are reselling those Spider-Man tickets for $1,000. Like,
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking
unfortunately, they're
about it,
squeezing people.
yeah, most of these people don't have jobs now that I'm thinking about it, because 'cause I'm
You
sure
know,
they
you
didn't
can
have
make a
jobs
living
back
off of
then,
this.
and that's what they're doing, and I can't fault them for that, but it's like, it's still I keep using the word villainous. It's messed up, like,
It's
but they need
morally
to make
wrong,
money. It's morally wrong, but they need the money because they don't have jobs because of COVID.
but I can't blame COVID because this was a thing before COVID as well. Like, yes, COVID has made it worse, but
What
before COVID,
the like, what was before COVID?
I'm talking about like the buying environment,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
When you
yeah,
try
yeah,
and
yeah.
buy some,
That is definitely
like,
before COVID.
it's
Oh,
it's
yeah,
existed before COVID, and it
facts.
these resellers are just,
They're just flagrant with it now.
gouging, and now it's, people are just like, this person could do it, so I can do it. Whatever your situation is, whether you quit your job or maybe this is a side thing that you do, like, some people take it to the extreme and they are just gouging people, and it's not fair because, when something used to drop, there was people that would wait up all night and try and grab two and resell one, right? Fine. Because
Yeah,
not everyone would want to wait up all night to go and go grab it. Now, people will have bots that'll purchase 200 of them
yeah,
so that they can resell at triple the amount and they come out sitting pretty, but the regular customer that maybe wouldn't even go online or go to them to find it, right? They just want to go to walmart.com or in store. They're the ones who are up the creek, right? They have no way of getting this thing. And that's not fair.
yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah,
yeah, Xbox acquiring Activision, I think that's going to be the landscape to go to. I think this
yeah.
next generation, the PS5
You're
versus the
you're a
what,
gamer?
Xbox Series 16 X5
Whatever
321.
the numbers are.
Yeah, whatever it
And speaking
is.
of that too, a lot of people are going towards, PC gaming, and that's
Yep,
like a
that's
new
another thing.
landscape as well. Like, you can get some PS5 or PlayStation exclusives, but you can get all of Microsoft. So PC
Yep.
gaming, which my hands are not built for that, um, is the way to go for most people, especially if you can build your computer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's the other thing. Like, building your computer now more than ever is cheap. It's not cheap, but it's
it's
cheaper
cheaper
and
than
it's
buying a
more
system.
accessible. You
Mhm.
know, you watch a couple YouTube videos, you now know how to build a rig. It's not something that has a really big barrier of entry anymore. It's something that's
Yeah,
accessible.
just go to
So
Newegg,
people are building bigger and better PCs every day.
and they're better than the consoles that are out here.
Oh yeah, all
So
of
it's
them.
like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna get Horizon, boom." And honestly, not to say, I'm advocating for illegal downloads, but, like, "Oh, yeah, it's only on PS5." People will still get their hands on Horizon.
Yeah,
They'll get their hands on The Last of
bootlegging
Us.
bootlegging never stops.
So, at least with a PC, you're doing your thing.
Yeah, man. But Yeah. So moving off of this one, let's slide into our last topics of
Yeah,
the
tone
day.
it down a bit. Some real
Yeah.
stuff.
So yeah, these next topics are going to be pretty not heavy or anything, but real things that everyone should know about. So the
Yes,
first one being people are actually losing money taking COVID tests. So the government has bought tests out so that they can start delivering for
putting them
free.
out for free. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Jay,
because
you want to take
when I
the
first saw
reins
the
on that?
news, I was like, I think I was online and I read the news. I was like, now that because me, I at my job, they would give us uh these tests for free. So I'm just like, oh yeah, like I remember I bought like one or two boxes at like a Rite Aid or whatever. But then like my job gives three at a time. So once we finish it, we can just go back because they bought a whole bunch. But there are people out there that
Hmm.
are like, in order to take that, either stand in line in this cold, frigid weather or go to the store, which they might not even have.
Yeah.
So it really sucks. But luckily, a week later, there was an update where the government did buy a whole bunch of COVID tests and are just you have to do some sort of you go on the post office website and then you will just go and apply for it. I think you could get up to four. Um,
Yeah, it's 4 per household.
yeah. So like
So
when I heard
we
about it, I
did
just
it.
told all my friends. I told all my
Yeah.
friends and was like, "Yo, just do this." Um, or even for people or family members that are like of that are old and can't use the
Yeah.
computer, like order for them. It's a good thing. It's at least the government did like this is something like very tangible that the government's doing that it's not like behind the scenes. They're like, oh, we're gonna do this. At least if you do that, we get to see like, oh, if you don't like taking the vaccines, at least you can take a test. At least you're not putting something in your body and you can be like, okay, I have COVID, I'm not leaving the house. Because then no
It
one wants
is
to take a vaccine. There are people out there doing
it's
that.
even lower than the bare minimum, which I didn't even think was
Oh
possible.
yeah, with like
So
the mask. Yeah.
yeah, so the bare minimum for me has always been like, listen, it's absolutely your right if you want to get vaccinated or not. I've gotten vaccinated, I've gotten boosted. If you don't want to, 100% that is your right as a free American. The least a human being can do is
Hmm.
wear a mask when you're around a bunch of people. That being said, you now have a free option paid for by your government to help you identify if you are a threat to other people around you. Yes, we're getting to a place where COVID is not as serious as it was previously. Yes, there are less people going into intensive care due to COVID cases. It's not zero,
It's
so
not zero.
don't get happy. It's
Yeah,
not
it's like,
zero.
"Ooh."
It is
Yeah,
less. The
it's
severity of these new strands that have been mutating are weaker. They are weaker strands than previous COVIDs, but they are also weaker because most of the population is vaccinated.
yes,
You don't want to get vaccinated, that's totally fine. The latest one, Omicron, is weaker. It's more akin to a flu instead of people having to be on respirators and being in intensive care. Like, it's not as bad as it was. It is not at a good enough place where everything's hunky dory,
yeah. And
you
just
know?
to ask you this question, and because I don't know the facts, so it's weaker if you are vaccinated, but if you're not
So
vaccinated, it still can get
it's
you.
a it's a weaker strand altogether. If you are vaccinated and or have your booster, it's even weaker. That's the
Mm,
whole point of getting vaccinated and the booster. It's
mm,
so that if you were to get it, it would affect you even less.
gotcha.
Although Omicron is weaker, it is more contagious. So you're thinking you got to
I,
think about it
yeah,
more so like the common cold, right? It
yeah,
is more contagious, but it is a weaker variant. So again, you might not be, and this is a might because there are some people that will fall on the outside of this line,
yeah.
like, but you
People's
might not
bodies
get
work differently.
exactly. You might not, go on a respirator and be in intensive care forever, but the least you can do is wear a mask and get this free test. You get 4 of them for every household. All you gotta do, my wife did it for us. All you gotta do is fill out a little form, put your address, and they come to your door. You get 4 of them, and at any time when you're feeling a little sniffly, you take the test at home and it gives you your results. It's a free rapid test. Do it. What
Yeah,
is it? It's free. There's
right.
nothing.
Just 15
It's
minutes
a
of your
not even. It's like 2 minutes. It's a Q-tip that you
oh,
put in
well,
your
the
nose.
process to see the
Oh,
it's
the
like
process to actually, yeah, order
depending
it.
on
Yeah,
which test
maybe
you have,
it's,
'cause mine is 15, but yeah.
but I'm talking about actually doing the
Oh, actually
thing,
doing it doesn't
right?
take that long.
Yeah, it's
2 to 5
freaking.
minutes,
You
guys.
do this, that, done. I can't understand people that wouldn't take advantage of this, right? Because
Who wouldn't
yes,
wanna test?
again, people don't want to get vaccinated. Totes your decision. But now it's getting to the point where it's, in my eyes at least, it would be harder and harder to come up with a reason why you wouldn't be doing these things. Because, okay, you don't want to wear a mask because it's uncomfortable and you feel like it's infringing on your freedom. Fine. You don't want to get this free COVID test that literally comes to your door so that you can
You
at
don't even
least
have
know
to
if you're
leave
sick or
the
not?
house. Yeah.
Dude,
You
I
know,
don't know. Like, what else? What else? What else
I'm just gonna call
can the
bad
country
people
do
villains.
to help you out? Like,
There are
come
probably
on.
villains out there that will still do it and then be like, "Nah, I'm still going out."
Well,
They're
yeah,
villains.
there'll always be, unfortunately, people like that.
But yes, you can do this thing and it's gonna save you money. Like, when I first heard, like, it was costing people money, it's sad. But now
Yeah,
that, it's not gonna cost you anything, you don't have to be and, depending on where you are in the country, you don't have to be standing out in these almost close to, uh, 0-degree weather
yeah.
to do these tests. Only
Well, at
for you to
one
say
point,
that you're not only to say that you don't
yeah,
have COVID. It's like, wow, you
and then
know
you come home with a cold because you've been out there.
exactly.
You know, and at one point, you're right. Like, I remember going, wanting to get a test from CVS. Now that they're completely sold out, but before there was a test that was like $70 or $80. And
No
then a
way.
couple months later, it was like $20 to pick up a test, a 2-pack, and then now they're completely gone. So with the state of how everything is going, it's been such a roller coaster with these tests. So I'm happy the government is stepping in and helping out the people, you
Yeah,
know?
because it's not a real thing. Like, it's crazy. It seems like dark times, like almost apocalyptic, where for the flu, for the cold, we never had to like test. Like, we felt sniffly, we
No.
took something. But this is like, no,
Yep.
we need to know that you have COVID. Like, that's very that's very scary. So, and then in about what's it? We're in 2022, 2 years. It's going to be the norm to get vaccinated, just like the flu
Yeah.
shot. So I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 years. Maybe I'll do it, maybe not. I don't know. But I did my first vaccination. I'm like, okay, I did it. Got a few headaches. I'm a coochie. But then it's just like, it's going to be normal. It's just going to be a normal thing. It's a little
Yeah. It's
jarring, you
like
know.
I just don't understand the pushback with it all. Like, I don't know. But
Some people don't
hopefully
believe in
with
science. It's okay. A lot of them are flat
hopefully
earthers out there.
science is wrong sometimes.
Sometimes.
Hopefully it becomes a little more commonplace, a little less anxiety riddled for people,
And not
you know.
political.
Yes, of all
That's like the
things.
key thing, not political.
Let let health please be not political.
Facts.
So, moving on from that, we have another story that's, I mean, I don't even know about this. This is pretty nuts.
So I'll tell you because do you who's your student loan provider?
Not Navient.
Okay, so I'll tell you mine because I'll tell you my story. So when
Well,
we
you got to
first
intro it first. What
oh
are we
yeah,
talking about
so
here?
basically Navion is gonna wipe away, I believe I forget. It's a lot of money. They're gonna wipe away a lot of student loan debt. Let me just look it up real quick. They're supposed to cancel $1.7 billion in debt, and I'm pretty sure I'm not one of them. But anyway, I'll tell you why. So basically, they were in court. They're in court because a lot of students believe that they were doing some what's the word? I don't say suspect.
Shady?
Shady. There was a I knew it was an
Suspicious?
S word. Yeah, like, so it felt shady that the way they were just giving out money, especially when they knew these students couldn't afford it.
Okay.
So they lost the court, and then they're gonna wipe away this that amount of X amount of money. But funny enough, before I heard the news, before I saw this news headline, I got an email from Navion saying we're passing on the loans to this company called Advantage Care. I even downloaded the app because that's my company, at Aid Vantage. So this is some blue collar crime, and this is me saying this. You're moving this to a company called Aid Vantage, which is another name. They're just moving our money to that company. The reason I know this is because so then I went on, I saw this and I was like, okay, cool. Like what, how much, how do I qualify to get my loans? I looked and I was like, it says you need to have been in school or after school, graduated from school from like 2015 on. I was like, all right, I'm in that, that's me. Then I go down the list. I'm like, I don't recognize none of these like qualifications. I'm like, I don't think I did any of this. So then I go on Twitter and then I see a lot of people. It was bubbling up on
Of
the top.
course.
People are like, "Hey, Naviant, why? So you're gonna forgive a lot of these loans, but why is the company changing to at Advantage?" A lot of people were saying the same exact thing, and I was like, "Oh, so I'm not the." I told myself I'm not the only one. So basically, there's gonna be an X amount of people that are still gonna be paying off their loans, and maybe the 1.7 billion dollars worth of people are gonna be, it's gonna be forgiven. So I'm probably gonna, I'm not lucky. That's I had to sit there and laugh and was like,
Well, it seems like they dumped as much as possible so that they wouldn't have to pay
it
back whatever.
literally what went through my mind was them putting papers in a shredder as they're
Yeah.
changing that's moving a select few people into the Advantage company. That's just them dumping shred. That's literally what I pictured. I was like, oh wow. If this becomes bigger news, I feel like they may just forgive the entire thing. Luckily, they have till May because I haven't been paying my loan since they stopped the interest. Because I was like, what's the point? I got a new place.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put in money that's probably gonna get wiped. So I'm gonna just wait. And it's a good thing a lot of this is happening because then if this happens, that can change the economy a little bit because then these people that are not beholden to this ball of chain here, they may be able to afford a house, car, and that could change things up. And if and this is me hoping, this is big, if the government sees like, oh, this is working, let's try and forgive the rest of these loans and then find a better way for students to get into college and not pay an arm and a leg and another leg to get it. And one thing that's pretty cool, I think this was during Obama's time. I think he was trying to have community colleges be free. You have to have a certain
It
GPA,
it
and
happened.
it's
It
and it's
happened.
free. I mean, it's a thing. It's real.
It's SUNY and CUNYs, so state and city level colleges that fall into the SUNY and CUNY
But
category
was is this across
are,
the country?
I believe so. It's
Okay,
free admission.
so state and city
So
colleges.
there's stipulations. So you need to
Yes,
have, I believe you need to have a certain GPA, like you need to keep a C or something like that.
I
And
think it's a little
then
higher, but yeah.
the state where you're in, you
Mhm.
have to stay for a certain amount of years after school. So you have to commit to living in that state for, I
And
guess,
that
like
makes
4
sense.
years.
That is I feel like
That's to
that's
help
not
the economy of that state, which makes sense.
100%. That is very agreeable. Instead of saying,
Hmm.
"Hey, we're gonna charge you a mansion to just learn something," where I could just to be honest, you can learn from Wikipedia and YouTube nowadays and TikTok to a certain degree. But if I wanna get, like, an actual education, I shouldn't have to be, s you know, basically pulling teeth to learn some
I
stuff.
mean, tuition alone before scholarships, if you qualify, before aid, if you qualify, before
Yeah,
food and housing, like you're looking at tuition alone. And this is from when we went to school, it's gone
yeah,
up.
and it's gone up, yeah. What was our it was, like,
So
40 when we
when
went,
we, it was,
it's, like,
it was
60 or
40.
70 now.
Yeah.
So
It
it's
was 40 when we
ridiculous.
went to our school. And that is a lot. And dude, we graduated 6 years ago,
Yeah,
right? It's not like we've been out of school for 20 years, like, our school is now, I think it's 60, right?
yeah. About
60 a year.
maybe more.
Like that's ridiculous. That's an
And that's also
absolute
because it's
and
a private school too, I think.
we yeah, we went to a private school, but dude, it's not like we didn't go to freaking Oxford.
Yeah,
We didn't go to Harvard. Like that's nonsense. Like
yeah,
it's just so ridiculous, and I've always had my gripes, but you $40,000 a year before everything else. You're going into debt. You are signing on for 160 grand off the cuff. You're
yeah,
not even talking about all the expenses that come with it.
yeah.
Textbooks, food, room and board. If you don't do room and board, transportation, like
That all
all
adds
of the
up.
other bills attached to it, you're talking about $250,000.
Yeah.
At the age of 17, you sign. You don't have any freaking idea
Well, you,
of
yeah.
that system at all.
You'd have had
If you're
his.
somebody
Would
that
have,
doesn't know the college system and the loans, like if you're not, I guess, in that area of expertise, how or know someone that's in that area of expertise, how are you supposed to defend yourself to that?
yeah. Especially for
You know,
our generation, our parents are always saying college gets you a job. Obviously, that's not real because look at the times we live in. Back then, yes. Even a little before that, you didn't need to go to college. So it's kind of like it's doing a role reversal. Back in the olden times, like when I remember in high school, they showed some mentors, like some alumni coming to our school, and they were old heads. They were old white heads. They were, I want to say, 40s, 50s, 60s. These alumni, they're
mhm.
like, yeah, I didn't go to college, and they're making money. And then it got to a point where, because of our generation and where our parents came from the Caribbean, their mindset is go to school, make money, and it kind of flipped. Now it's going back where it's like you don't need to go to college. To be honest, it's realistic because I've learned a lot more after college, way more.
It's better, and I didn't find this out till after school. It would have been better for me to do a trade. It would have been better for me to learn like
Yeah,
AC repair because I would have been making a ridiculous amount of money.
yeah, a hundred
You are
percent.
set once you learn a trade. Mechanics, AC repair, plumbing, electrical,
I
anything.
Yeah,
All these jobs that unfortunately are looked down upon as like lesser than jobs,
as someone said
you can make
in New
a
York,
killing at.
a low skilled worker, but I'm not going to say his name,
Yes.
but we know who it is.
Those things pay you more. Listen, my first job out of college after getting my degree and all that was $35,000. That was my salary.
Pretty middle
$35,000 a year.
class. Yeah,
$35,000 a year is equivalent to like I think it was like $9 an hour or something like that. Like
sounds about right.
it's a retail job. For that, I didn't have to get into debt and I could have just stayed working at Staples
Yeah,
or
like
Victoria's Secret.
my first day, my first time or my first job was a doorman, but I only worked the weekends. And the only time I
Mhm.
worked a 6-day shift was in the summer when my other coworkers went on vacation. So I didn't really have vacation. My vacation was my weekdays. But I wasn't really making a lot. I was making what, 300 a week? How much is
Yeah.
that's not a lot. But then when I finally got my part-time job, I looked at like I was only making like 20,000. This is the second year after college.
Yeah.
So 2 years later, I wasn't making so my um
Oh yeah, and that job took me over a year after graduating to get.
oh wow, yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
working in a fish market.
Yes. I was like that was yeah, dude. It's so bad because it's like you need to make more, way more than how much you owe. And I wasn't even close to that. Because luckily I was still living with my parents. So I
Yeah.
didn't have anything. The only thing I probably had to worry about was like one phone bill. But then
Mhm.
and then started paying loans. That's it. I was just paying my loans and I was doing the best that I can. I remember struggling. I remember there was a point in 2017, 2018. I was in my checkings. I had like about $100. No, not my check-ins, my savings.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I don't know how I made it, bro. It's crazy. And seeing this news right now, is giving me a glimmer of hope. Cause like right now, like, yeah, I can probably pay off my loans, but then what for what? I didn't I'm trying to do what I can after college to achieve my dream that the school that kind of raised me didn't really do.
Yeah.
Which it's very it sucks to say out loud. Like in high school, my cousin was 2 years ahead of me. My cousin wants to be a cook. He wanted to be a chef. I know
Mhm.
that costs money, but like I think the guidance counselor was like, nah, that's not a thing you should do. Why? He wants to cook. He likes to
Yeah,
cook now.
why not?
Now he's a
You can
cop.
go to
Not that a
a
cop is a bad
very
thing, but that's a completely different thing.
you can and this is one of my roommates did it. You can go to a very good culinary institute for a fraction of the cost of a 4-year college for 1 year, come out with a good paying job, and if you have good work ethic, I'm not talking about a dishwasher. You
No,
could
yeah,
be a cook right after this.
yeah,
You apply yourself just like anything else. You come out with a job at a good place
yeah,
and you work your way up just like you would in any other job field. You know,
100%.
and it's bothersome that, that's the kind of direction that people got in school because you're so impressionable at that age where, everyone's telling you, "Oh, don't do that because X, Y, and Z." You're not going to do it. You're 16 years old.
They know
Like,
better than you at that point. Probably
exactly.
just
And you've
like
been
your
conditioned and told that your entire life. These adults, these professionals know better than you, so listen to them.
mhm.
And
And you
then when you
find out
come
that
out and you're one of them,
yeah,
you realize, oh, they were making after 10 years of work 40 grand and they're struggling just like I'm going to be doing. So why did I do the same thing? Why was I being told this is the way to do it when the person who didn't graduate, that
mhm,
barely got out of high school, who decided to say, "You know what? I can't do anything else. Let me just go into a work program." They are now making closer to six figures than I will for the next 10 years.
yep,
That is ridiculous. That's a huge disparity, and there's nothing against trade schools or work programs or anything like
100
that.
yeah.
Those things are very important, and I like I said, I wish I did them because you come out with a better, easier future.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
not
and
shackled to 30 years of debt.
there are a lot of things I'm not like to be honest, like, we could have definitely done that, but, like, we would have met like, there's little things that we look at. There's something
Yeah,
like,
of
we would have
course.
met, like, there are times I wish I went to a CUNY school, or I wish, like, okay, to be honest, getting in college is where I found I really wanted to write. Like, there's certain things I was able to
Yeah.
get from it, but if, you know, I do
But
regret
you can
certain things.
attribute that to your environment and not to the school.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. There are a lot of things like that I can incorporate to what what made me me. But it's
Yeah.
like there are times I'm like, yeah, I would have gone to the CUNY school, but my dad was like, no, you need to go away, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that push because I was like, I was able to become my own person that wasn't
Mhm.
banking on my parents. But then I went to a school where, and to be honest, I did know it was expensive, but I always have this little uh part of me in my head that always hopeful, like things will be okay. I had to
Yeah.
go through a lot, but it's like I'm here now, but it's like it could have easily been I could have not been here.
Very
And
true.
the government could probably do a better job in trying to make our American citizens, smarter, but not for, you know,
Not
money.
for profit.
Like
Yeah.
money. Yeah, like not for money, yes, but not for profit. That's the key word. Not for profit.
Yeah, there needs to be, higher education needs to be way more accessible.
Facts.
Guided education needs to be more
Mhm.
accessible. So guidance through this process because as much as they say you have these different channels to guide you, you really don't. You're relying on one individual that hopefully knows what they're talking about.
Yep.
That's it. And
And then
guidance
they're
counselors.
working that
And
job
it's
forever.
to yeah, that's to no fault of them because, the education system is messed up whether it's private or public, but
True.
this Navient thing is a glimmer of hope, like you said. I'm hoping the president turns around and is like, you know what? We're gonna forgive everything.
Yeah.
YOLO. I'm hoping that happens. I'm sure a lot of people are hoping that happens.
Yeah,
I doubt it'll happen, but this is the first step to hopefully restructuring, this terrible process for people, for everyone, for
for
generations to
everyone.
come. Well,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that wraps this episode up. So, as always, thank you guys for joining in.
Yeah, this was very
Um,
real. It got real
this
in the
was
end.
fun.
I liked
It
it.
got real. This was a really good one. So, as always, be good to each other. We love you. This is Jay Justin Ruiz signing off.
And this is Jay, Jeremy Francois. Stay safe and be breezy.
Stay safe, guys. We love you.
Bye.